And now, Kyle and Steven present another episode of the Go F Yourself podcast. It's Fix. Really? Well, that's embarrassing. The Go Fix Yourself podcast.
Welcome to the Go Fix Yourself podcast, the podcast where we try to fix our life view one conversation at a time. And today we're very excited to have Joe McAneney on. Welcome, man. Welcome.
Yeah, thanks for having me. And I'm just curious, who's doing the intro? Who did the music?
We like to take credit for it.
Us. We totally did
But we didn't. We outsourced that to a much more talented, creative person that...
So, I mean, Fiverr. We found a guy on Fiverr because literally, I think Kyle was like, all right, because we took a break of the podcast and then we were like, okay, let's get new artwork and a new intro. And then Kyle was like, oh, let's do a pop punk, because we're both coming from music and metal music and pop punk music. And so we're like, okay, let's freaking do that. And then since it was a tight time frame, we just hired some dude online.
Yeah.
I always imagined it was like you guys in here just ripping it out.
You know what? Maybe we should start selling that version.
Yeah. We did it. Yep.
Like,
I can lie.
Maybe we should add like vocals on top. Yeah. Welcome to the Go Fix Yourself podcast.
Written by us. That's all. That's the end part.
Write your own jingle.
This is solely written by us. Oh, great. Well, welcome to the podcast, man. We've been trying to have you on for a while, and so, but it's hard because you live out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, way out there.
You live in Talkeetna. So really quick, like we say with all of our guests, my mom, my parents, they both listen to this podcast. They live all the way out in New York. Tell them a little story. Let's just touch on the main points, and then we'll go back and hit those. But just tell like a little bit of what you do now, and there you go.
Yeah. Well, I always forget that we have like that upstate New York connection. So maybe we'll touch on that a little bit.
Wait, what? I think we did. We connected over like Instagram. Yeah. Because that's where we do most of our talking is Instagram.
Yeah. And I think somehow we touched on upstate New York, or I don't know how it came up, but that's originally where I'm from. Grew up there, went to school there, but
what part of upstate?
South of Rochester.
Okay, so very close.
Yeah, very close.
Wow, that's right. I totally spaced on
small little town called Hornell.
Yeah,
near Alfred University. Yeah.
We used to play Hornell in soccer.
Yeah.
Those sons of bitches.
Yeah, Section 5.
Yeah, dude. We also used to play the Rochester School of Deaf.
Yeah, dude,
and
that's the thing.
They slapped, dude.
They were good.
They were so good.
Yeah.
Because I mean, like when you're communicating verbally, I don't know if you know this, but deaf people can't hear, Kyle.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah. But no, anyways, so they communicate with their eyes, and they can just do it in like a split second. So they know exactly where the ball's going to go. Yeah. Super hard. Anyway,
you can't hear them, their strategy. It's
you can't be like over here. And you're like,
they're 10 steps ahead of you.
No, we were like tied 2-2, and I was the goalie at that time. I don't know why I'm saying this, but this is what the memory just
cost the game.
I did, because it came down to a shootout.
Yeah.
And so my boys, they couldn't make a goal. And then so they came to me. And then, of course, the first guy kicks the ball. And I'm like, I go the opposite way because I read him wrong. And so I was just like, sorry, everybody.
They didn't hear that.
We traveled an hour to be here, but we'll wrap it up and let's pack it in. So, upstate New York, we have that connection. And then, so what is it that you do right now? What is it like? So your main job?
Yeah, right now for the last 7 years, I've been self-employed as the owner and founder of the High Expedition. It's a cannabis dispensary in Talkeetna, and it's my main job. I run the business. I have a manager now, so I'm pretty hands off these days. Which is nice. Freed me up to do some other creative pursuits and passions. And I've started some sort of side ventures in the CBD industry. You might have seen like Holocene and Plant, some of these seltzers, and some tinctures as well, where we wholesale in various dispensaries in the state. And so, I did a lot of the creative work on that and the branding and getting all that launched and distribution and stuff. And that was a lot of work. And that's also kind of sort of, self-rolling now. And there's not much going on with it in terms of like the creative efforts has always been the thing that was really into. And and then just getting things kind of dialed and sort of automated. And so,
yeah, that's one of the things with your brands I'm obsessed with, because you can tell you don't, I mean, we live in Alaska, and I think we've talked about it on here before, but like our branding efforts are just like, okay, that's good. That's fine. It's not like, all right, let's take this. It's good, but let's make it better, and then take it 2 more steps. Your stuff, High Expedition, like the whole branding to the summit idea, and then the plant stuff and Holocene. I'm always like, it's so cool. It just looks cool, and so it's like you should be very proud of that, because that is like, it like brings up, I think, in my my mind, Alaska more.
Yeah, there's a lot of brands that I think that want to like keep that home Alaska vibe to their art, and then a lot of times it comes off like just not as like up to date. Like it's a little in the past, and so when you see local brands that are doing like really good branding, they stick out like absurdly.
Yeah.
Like there's just, you're like, oh, they're not even from Alaska because this is so good.
Yeah.
Which is funny, because like when Cut and Caliber, our first business, started, like I was like, oh, dude, this is so good. I'm really good at what I do. And then I look at it now, I'm like, that is absolute dog shit.
Yeah.
Like,
I was saying that from the get-go.
Took him this long to figure it out.
Kyle you can always count on him to knock me down a few steps.
This is
like,
terrible, Steven.
It's like, I'm up here being like, this is really good. I've outdone myself again. And Kyle's like, you suck.
Yeah.
No. Okay. So you're running High Expedition. It's out in Talkeetna, which for those who aren't aware and who are out of state of Alaska, that's 3 hours north.
90 miles north.
It's 100 miles.
100
so
miles?
It's mile 99, the spur road, and another 13 or so into town. So it's, it's a 2.5 hour drive on average, depending on the weather. But
Sure.
You're driving fast.
Yeah.
Because I was gonna say it takes me like 2.5, 3.
It's a beautiful drive too.
Day.
A lot of times.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Well, and that's the thing. Like a lot of people don't know, but like Talkeetna is one of the places where you want to, if you want to go to see Denali, that's one of the places you go see, like the big mountain, the big boy.
It's the closest town on the south side to the range. I mean, for the views and to be on the road system. So it's the closest town on the road system. You can walk to the end of Main Street, and there's the Alaska Range. It's just boom, and all the flight seeing tours. It's it's pretty much the north side has some flight seeing as well, but Talkeetna has the most Alaska Range flight seeing options. So that's kind of one of the draws. It's a huge aviation town. The history there is rich.
Yeah.
That's cool.
It's only 60 miles from the summit of Denali, the town is.
Yeah, I really dig Talkeetna. And I always like loved day trips to Talkeetna, but there was one time, and I went out there for a week. You were gone. We were filming this TV show, and it was like during the fall.
I think I ran into you. I've run into you I've seen you. I always run into you at the brew pub.
It's like it's like random. Like
always at the bar.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
every time.
Either at the TP or the Fairview.
He's on his laptop acting like he's working.
Yeah. Like don't mind me, dude. No, but we were shooting a TV show out there, and first off, I was out there for a whole week, and it was during the fall, and like now every year, that was 2 years ago, almost 3. And every year now during the fall, me and my wife try to go out there and just like, spend time, because that is the most perfect place for fall, because it's quiet. It's gorgeous. Like the leaves are falling, and it's just like, it's magical.
It is. Yeah. And like, you're basically, I can tell, like, I remember on your last episode with Nick, you kind of mentioned how you went out there for sort of like a creative retreat or, work getaway.
Yeah.
And I feel like really lucky to like live there year round. And I feel like that's like, I've harnessed a lot of that creative energy just from living there, and the seasonality, and the it's bustling in the summer and crazy and fun and new people from all over the world, and in the wintertime it's quiet, and it's just like you can really focus and hone in on whatever passion or project you're doing.
Yeah. So what brought you from upstate New York to Talkeetna, or just Alaska in general?
Yeah, it wasn't Talkeetna at first. It was sort of like a happy accident, but So after I was running track, I went to University of Albany, and I was running track there. And after my freshman year, I went back to Hornell and cut grass for the city, and wasn't really digging it. And went back to school, and I was like, I can't go back home.
You went to cut some other different grass.
Yeah.
Steven.
Yeah. There was something in there.
Yeah, there was. Yeah,
I was trying. I'm trying really.
The grass is greener somewhere else.
Yeah.
So I was like, I can't go back I can't go back to my hometown again. I was like, I was over it. I wanted something different. I didn't really care. I was thinking like Colorado or something, just to go work for a summer.
Yeah.
And I had this family friend, this guy named Mike Green, who's still a major influence and mentor in my life. He was one of my dad's friends, and he was sort of this world traveler. He's worked and lived in 60 different countries, and he'd always, from when I was real little, he's probably 20 years older than me, and he'd come back from an adventure and he'd show up at my dad's house and he'd shake my hand so hard I'd want to cry. But he was just like this guy that I always was like, that guy's cool. And I knew he spent time in Alaska as a hunting guide, and I knew he spent time in Colorado doing, whatever. And I got his number and I called him. It's my first time really connecting with him kind of like in my adult life, because I always kind of just knew him as like my dad's friend when I was little. And my dad was like, yeah, you should call Mike and see if he can help you out with an idea for a job somewhere. And so called up Mike and I was like, hey, I want to go to Colorado. And he's like, no, you don't. He's like, you want to go to Alaska. And I was like, Alaska wasn't like on my radar. It wasn't that I wasn't intrigued by it or didn't think that would be cool, but it wasn't like I was like seeking that out like specifically. So he's like, yeah, you want to go to Alaska? And I was like, all right, I want to go to Alaska. And he connected me with a couple of his contacts and old employers there. And I'm on the phone in my dorm room and I'm making some calls, and I'm 20 years old, and I'm like, so my first call is his buddy that owned Rapid Exposure, which is a 1 hour photo. It was still back then when they were still developing photos and stuff. And you
just dated yourself, dude.
Yeah. Well, I was right on the cusp of him going digital and like doing all that. But so he was doing all the photography for like rafting companies and stuff in the park. And he offered me a job. And he said, "Do you have any experience with photography?" And I said, "Yeah, I've dabbled. I'm into art and different stuff." And so he said, "All right, well, I'll offer you a job." But the problem was he didn't really like, his job was sort of like going to be like a part-time, kind of side thing. Mm-hmm. It didn't come with housing or anything like that. So he connected me with this guy named Bill Berglund, who is the founder and builder of the Grand Denali Lodge. So if you've been in the park, you've seen the hotel up on top of the hill. So I called Bill up, and still to this day, one of my good friends. And Bill offered me a job doing general maintenance, which I didn't have much experience with. My dad used to build houses, and I had some basic stuff, but I didn't a maintenance job at a hotel. I was like, I guess I'll learn. So they offered me a job and housing and the whole deal. So that kind of made it possible to like just send it and go there and have a place to live. And so I knew no one, had no contacts besides what Mike was going to connect me with. And so, like 4 or 5 days after my last final sophomore year, I'd hop on a plane to Alaska. And remember, my parents weren't stoked. They were like, Alaska, they had no clue. They were just like, what are you going to do?
You going to Russia?
Yeah, basically like they were a little worried, but and that was kind of a theme even in later years, like kind of like parents being a little bit like, oh, you're starting a marijuana store? Like, oh, great. Like, just like another, but it's kind of panned out. But they they drive me to the airport. I land in Anchorage, and Mike had set me up with one of his friends to give me a ride up to the park.
Damn.
I get in the car, and I was in this van, actually. This guy with these dreads picks me up, and first thing, he lights up this fat joint, and I'm 20 years old, and I'm just like, we're driving, and I see the Chugach Mountains, and we're driving out of Anchorage, and I'm just like, fell in love instantly. Yeah. I'm just like, wow, this is like, hadn't really seen real mountains before, upstate New York, we
don't got mountains, dude.
We got some rolling hills.
We got hills.
I've been to Vermont, but it's not.
We do have more colors in the fall. I was just in New York in October, and I was just like, oh, I miss the colors. And also the time frame, like how long the fall is. I'm a sucker for fall, if you couldn't tell.
Yeah, me too. And I was back in October as well, and it was the first time I'd been back in New York. And
what shit? You were back? Oh,
yeah. I was in Hornell in October for like a week.
I wonder if we did we? Because I didn't story or anything. I didn't let anybody know I was there.
No, I don't. I
didn't want to see any family.
You didn't want all the fame.
I think I saw you at Rochester Airport and just went the other way.
Yeah, you were like, shit.
Yeah,
that's
here too.
I was supposed to see him in Talkeetna.
Yeah.
But so I went back for a little family get together, I was blown away. I was like, wow, you can't really beat Alaska when the trees are all yellow and you get that first kind of snow on the mountains, and it's just like that. That's pretty awesome.
And it's brisk air. I love that. Yeah.
But when you have all the hardwood, like the maples and all the trees that are popping off reds and pinks, and it's just, you got to see Northeast in autumn if you haven't. It's really cool.
I'll have to do that.
Yeah.
But because I want to go back. But anyway, so you made it till Talkeetna. You're working at the Grand Princess Lodge. You're doing
So I showed up that first summer, and I'm working at the hotel, and I'm doing photography, and it's funny. I actually met one of my lifelong friends to this day. This guy named Chuck. The third day I'm there, I know no one, right? I'm there, kind of like, it's a seasonal job. So
Isn't that how everybody is though? They show
a little bit, yeah. You show
it's all seasonal workers.
Sometimes people will come with like friend groups, and they'll kind of have a base. But I was by myself, like knew no one. And I'm sitting on this bench, and this guy my age comes and sits down next to me, and we start talking, and like, oh, where are you from? And we do the whole thing, and I'm like, oh, I'm from upstate New York, and he's like, really? He's like, where? I'm like, oh, just a small town south of Rochester. He's like, where? And I'm like, this town called Hornell. He's like, no shit. He's like, my dad grew up in Hornell. And I'm like,
what?
So it's crazy. This guy, my friend Chuck, who actually, it's important to the story because I started my first business with him in Denali. First business I ever started in Alaska was a t-shirt shop called Wild About Denali. And it's still going on up there, doing custom t-shirts. And
are you still part of it?
No, I passed it off to him. Yeah. But so we start talking, and we figure out that his grandpa still lived in the town that my parents still lived in, Hornell, which I'm from. And we traced it all the way back. I called my parents. I'm like, do you know the Purse family? And we start talking, and we found. We found out. So my parents met they both went to Brockport, and they were both. My parents were both retired special ed teachers, and they met in school there. And my mom dated his uncle before she ever met my dad.
Fuck off.
And it's the first dude I met and I'm talking to on this picnic bench in Denali National Park. And I'm just like...
the opposite side of the
gun. It was insane, yeah. So, to fast forward, him and I became great friends. We played music together, had a lot of fun.
How old is this guy?
He's like 2 years older than me. So he's like 34, yeah. At the time, we're similar age. And so, but he was there. He's from Prescott, Arizona. And he had a friend group of like 7 people there that were awesome guys that are all still so like I was instantly put into a friend group, and they're all still really good friends of mine.
Yes, I got an in.
Yeah.
I have friends.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it changed my whole experience overnight. Like I met this guy,
Chuck.
Yeah, thanks, Chuck. Yeah, he's probably gonna listen to this. So
oh, hey bud.
Yeah. So
thanks for listening.
Yeah. So I worked this summer, fell in love with it. I was like, I didn't want to even go. I didn't want to leave. I was like, I'm dropping out of school. I'm staying in Alaska. I don't need to go to school. I saw like the seasonal tourism businesses, and I was like, I can do this. I was like, this is, you just open a business where all the tourists the buses drop
I love that thinking, because a lot of people are like, open a business? No,
well,
that's too hard.
I never really had any really idea that I would start a business or anything. It wasn't like I was like, oh, I'm an entrepreneur and I'm going to do that. I was just
didn't have that bug yet.
No, I was in school. I was a pre-med bio major. I was on the track to go to med school. I was like, I was focused and running track, and I was on that whole path. Came to Alaska and messed it all up.
Just total right turn.
Yeah,
that's why the parents were upset.
Yeah, they're like, he's not going to go to med school. Damn.
I thought he was going to pay for a new house for us.
Yeah, we knew he was a stoner, but no, God, he's no coming back. Yeah. So I did. My dad talked to me and okay, just come back to school and you can go back to Alaska, and if you really love it, see how it goes. So go back to school, and also that summer I've always been interested in flying and in airplanes, but growing up, I mean, how many pilots did you know in upstate New York? Like it's not like here where every other person's got a plane in their yard. So I was always, I think, more just interested in like airplanes as like a kid, just like they're cool, like fire trucks, whatever, but it wasn't like I actually thought I was going to fly them. And so, but that summer I was working 2 jobs, but I wasn't 21 and I had a hard time getting into the salmon bake. I didn't have a good enough fake ID. So I was kind of getting shunned out. Wasn't really partying much. So I had a coworker who is also part of my story because he was like a 50-year-old guy that was my roommate. And he was just working the job that summer to try to get transition up to the slope because Nana Management, the native company, was our employer. And on the maintenance team, we were operating like the water and sewer systems at the hotel. They had a reverse osmosis water purification system. So I started to learn that. And he was there to get his hours to be a certified water operator to then get a job up on the slope. And I was like, what's the slope? I didn't know anything. So that didn't sound cool to me. So I was like, but he had
2 weeks on, 2 weeks on.
Yeah, which I ended up doing. And I'll tell you what.
Really?
Yeah. So
so did Kyle.
Yeah. So he had an old Ford F-250. It was like a 1987 or something. And he let me borrow his truck I had 1 day off a week, and I would, on my 1 day off a week, I'd borrow his truck and drive to Fairbanks and go do flight lessons. And so I pretty much blew all the money I made that summer doing flight lessons in a little Cessna 150 up there.
Sick.
And, got like 7 or 8 hours that summer flying. I fell in love with flying. I was like, this is sick, but I was like, I can't afford it. There's, can't finish my thing, but I got the itch for it and the taste for it. And I was like, I definitely want to do that at some point.
Mm-hmm.
So I go back to college, go back my junior year. At this point, I'm so checked out from like the med school path and stuff. I'm like, switch my major. I go into art. Switch my major. I become an art major.
Man, that's another right turn, dude.
Yeah. So now I'm an art major and I'm doing all that stuff. And I quit the track team, move off campus with some friends that quit the track team as well, and just had the most fun year of my life.
Blazing up.
Oh man, yeah, barely survived it, but had like the most fun year of my life. My GPA was like 1.5, and
that was mine too.
Yeah, I was like, this is the end of my college career. Basically, I'm going back to Alaska. So I go back to Alaska and do the same thing, the same 2 jobs. I work at the hotel again, and now I'm like a returner, and I got my friend group back, and I'm 21, have a blast, had a great summer.
Changes everything.
Oh yeah, it's just an amazing summer. Didn't do the flight, I kind of quit. I kind of just stopped doing the flying thing because it was just too expensive, and I was partying and just having fun. And then I was gonna I probably would have rode that summer out and just stayed in Alaska and not gone back to school. But like at the end of July, my grandma passed away. So I was like, I got to go back for a funeral. So I go back, and I was planning on coming back to Alaska, but I kind of just got sucked in and just like, I was like with my family and some stuff was going on. So I just stayed in school, and I went and like, I was like, I don't know if it was just that break. Like I was kind of bummed that I didn't get to finish the summer in Alaska with all my friends and stuff, but I went back to school and talked to my counselor, and I switched my major. This time I was like, all right, I just want to graduate. I just want to finish it. I don't want to quit. So I switched to psychology. So I was like, that's easy. I was like, psychology, that's
easy.
I was like, that's a cop out. I'm just going to go.
I would have thought art would have been easier.
Yeah. But the art thing was just sort of it was almost like, I'm paying way too much money to
just to have.
I guess if you're going, if you were going for pre-med, like psychology is probably a breeze.
Yeah, and like I remember some of the psychology, undergrad courses that seemed like kind of like common sense to me.
Too.
Yeah, interesting. I was into it. I was like, this is cool. Like I actually enjoy the topics and talking about it. So I switched to psychology, but you switch your major going into your senior year. I had all my undergrad type or like the prereqs done. And my counselor's like, yeah, you have to get pulled her calculator out. She's like, you need to get a 3.93 or higher.
Oh my God.
Entire year just to graduate with a 2.0. And I was like, all right. So I moved back to campus. I had still had some track team connections. So I moved back to campus. And I don't know if you've been to SUNY Albany, but the way the campus is set up, they have 4 21-story towers. And so the dormitories are like 4 towers that are 21 stories, and there's 4 dorm rooms on each tower, and each floor alternates like boys and girls. So it's very interesting. A lot of awkward elevator rides. So I got back into a room with my some old track team friends that were still on the team, and they had a spot for me. And 21st floor, we're at the top, penthouse, had a sweet spot.
Sick.
But I was like, I got to move back to campus. I was like, if I'm off campus, I'm not getting 3
will not study.
No way.
Yeah.
So I moved back. I focused really hard on school and the psychology stuff. One of my professors, Professor Andrade, she was a PhD from Harvard. She was super supportive of me, and I'm really excelling in her classes, like the upper level, like writing intensive courses, and specifically educational psychology. I got really into that. Come from a family of educators, my parents, some of my aunts and uncles, my grandma. So I was like, this is cool. This makes sense. And I was really into reading and understanding research, and I was getting really into research, and I was like, I think I might want to do research and be a professor or something. So she starts pulling me aside after class, and she's like, and I start telling her hey, just so you know, I'm super stoned every class I come to. And she thought that was interesting, and she's like no
really?
way. Yeah. So she's like, she was interested in,
love that.
Yeah, she was interested in my mindset and these verbose type answers to the questions and research and analyzing stuff. And so she's like, you need to go to grad school. She's like, you have the brain for this. You need to do.
Don't tell me what to do.
Right. Looking back on it, but we're still great friends. Her name's Heidi.
Will she be listening to this podcast?
I'm going to send it to her. Yeah, she'll probably listen to it.
Hi. Heidi.
Yeah, she's a published author and Harvard grad, PhD.
Damn,
she's awesome. Yeah, and she has a farm in upstate and near Albany, and she's an amazing woman. One of my mentors that
you're just saying that because you're going to send her the podcast.
Yeah, well,
you're just singing her praises.
Google her name, you'll see.
Yeah, say knock her down a little bit.
Yeah.
Then yeah, just kidding.
You almost got me to go to grad school.
Yeah.
So close.
Yeah, so I went and did my GREs and crushed those, and I'm like, my GPA is like going to be a 2.0. I'm like, there's no way. She wanted me to go to Harvard. She's like, oh, I got connections. We can get you into Harvard.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, there's no way.
Sick.
I'm like, no one's ever gone to Harvard with a 2.0. I was like, there's no way. But sure
How
enough,
much money do you have?
Yeah.
You just like wrote a piece of paper. You're like, this is how much I'm willing to give you.
Yeah.
And it's like $50.
Yeah.
And you just slide it across the table.
Yeah. So anyway, basically, I met the threshold in the GRE, no problem. And then I did end up getting like a 3.96 GPA that whole year.
You smart boy.
Well, I was really into it.
He's grinding.
I applied myself to that, got obsessed with it, and that's what I was into. And I was like, academia is my thing, and I was really into it. And looking back on it, I'm like, I'm so glad I didn't go that route.
Yeah.
But at the time, that's just I'm sure you've been obsessed, gone down rabbit holes where you're like, okay, like I mastered something. I thought I really liked that, but then I got good at it, and then actually like
that's not what I love.
Yeah.
Music, dude.
Yeah, and
I fucking pursued music for like 12 years, 15 years.
And that's been like a common theme in my life. Like sometimes you if you're a passionate person and you want to become proficient at something and competent, like you do it. And then you become that, and then all of a sudden it becomes boring. You're like, okay, what's next? Like, this isn't actually what I'm passionate about.
Right.
I think it's like you're passionate about the process and about learning and getting to the point where you're like, okay, I'm actually like decent at this, or I'm good at this. I understand it.
Yeah.
And that's what happened with me with educational psychology and
adding stuff to your tool belt. All I can think about is like your poor parents. They're like really jacked. We got a smart, and as a parent myself, I could picture this about the roller coaster they were on of just like, oh, this kid's going pre-med. We're really excited. Oh, he's going to Alaska. He's dropping out of school. What a loser. Oh, God. Yeah. Oh, he's coming back. Oh, he's switching to art. Oh, my God. Honey, where did we go wrong?
Down, up, down.
Oh, wait, no, he's doing psychology. Great. Yeah. And then he's going to Harvard with a 2.0.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
You got to do what I did.
What do you do?
Yeah. You got to do what I did to my parents. I just kept their expectations real low.
The whole
real low. And then I like built them up over time. So I was like, all right, but we're still low.
Yeah.
We're still low.
Just less low.
Well, if you move far enough away, they don't really have any, they don't know what you're really doing.
Yeah. This is actually just, we don't actually public this. This is just, I send these, episodes to them. Like, look how cool we are. We have a podcast.
There's like a private link to Spotify. I think there's actually a podcast.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I'm actually like, I'm going to Harvard. I'm going to do it. Like it's a week before undergrad graduation. I'm by all means accepted. And she's sponsoring me and is like, I think like in grad school programs, they actually have, they say this is our standard, right? Like this GPA, this GRE score, these references. But like, if there's like an alumni that's like a prevalent one that's done things, that's like, this person is going to be an asset to the program. There's actually leeway and things can happen. And so I was going to do that, and I was stoked about it. And I was like, I'm going to go get my PhD in ed psych, and I'm going to be a professor. That's what I'm going to do, research. That's what I was going to do. A week before my undergrad graduation, I get a call from my old roommate, this guy that I told you about, that was the guy working at the hotel doing the water stuff.
Chuck.
This guy his name is Mike Orman.
That's what I said. Mike Orman.
Yeah. So Mike Orman's the 50-year-old guy that he was a full-blown alcoholic. He was an awesome guy, but he was just like the worst roommate ever. And he
won't be listening to this podcast.
No, he won't. Yeah, I don't even know where he
is.
Fuck
Mike.
Yeah. But he did call me and said, Joe, I got the job on the slope. He's like, I don't know what you're doing, but we need someone. He's like, if you want a job, I can help get you the job. He's like, you can be a water operator, just like we were doing at the hotel. He's like, do you want to do it? And I was like, I don't even know what that is. I was like, still don't know what the slope is. Like I'm the oil field. I have no idea what that is. And I'm like, he's like, I'm like, well, what does it pay? And he's like, oh, you'll make like 85,000 a year. And I'm like, like,
you got to pump up your numbers, dude.
But I was like,
I guess.
But I was 21 years older. I was like, I was 20. I just turned 22, and I was like, 85,000. I was like,
That sounds pretty good.
Yeah, I was like,
I mean, that sounds pretty good.
Half the year off. Yeah, I'm like,
Yeah.
I was like, fuck grad school instantly. And
Sorry, Heidi.
Yes.
Yeah, I was saying, how did that talk go with Heidi?
Well, it's
Like,
funny because
hey,
I think like,
thanks?
I don't think she was surprised. I think she kind of knew my MO and sort of the volatility of like figuring out what I wanted to do. And I think that's part of what made me good at the topic, was because I really enjoyed learning and like learning about how we learn and how we learn best, which is sort of what EdPsych is. And so I think she wasn't super surprised. I think
What about your parents? Now they got you leaving back to Alaska one more time.
Build up your hopes. My boy's going to Harvard.
But at this point, you know, they've been teachers for 30 years, and I was about to start making more money than them overnight.
Sure,
so I think and not that it's all about money, but in perspective, they were just like, cool. Like they started to just, I think, become supportive.
Used
like,
to it,
they were sort of like, you know, I wasn't coming home to live in their basement.
That's our
so
little Joe. He's crazy.
Yeah, he's doing
bouncing
something
around.
Yeah.
He's making a lot of money though.
Yeah. So Judge Judy was she's an alumni of SUNY Albany, and she did our commencement speech.
I didn't know
And
that.
it was
Nice.
it was pretty cool. And I did that, and like literally like 5 days after graduation, I'm on a plane back to Alaska. So
Jeez.
10 days later,
Yeah.
total 180. Back in, I show up, I do my drug testing and all that stuff, barely passed. And then I'm going to Dead Horse. Right?
Oh my God.
And it's not just like I'm working in Dead Horse. I'm working
Right.
I'm working on Pioneer Natural Resources Project, which is a man-made island called Ugarik. So I take a 3-hour bus from Dead Horse west over to like a Licktock Point. And then it's the summertime, so it's helicopter season. It's not quite boat season. So this island, they made it. It's 7 miles off the coast in the Beaufort Ocean, the Beaufort Sea. And how they built it was, like, we've all seen ice road truckers and stuff, but this is just like, they should be a show about human engineering is actually pretty wild, because so the North Slope, so if you like go to the Arctic Ocean, the way that the shelf of Alaska sort of goes into the ocean, it's very shallow, right? So the ocean, you're 7 miles off the coast, the ocean's only 10 feet deep.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really, really shallow, like far out. So it's very shallow slope out. So what they did was the ocean actually, you know, on a normal winter, I guess back then, I don't know if it's still happening, but the ocean water would freeze all the way to the seafloor.
Mm-hmm.
Like literally, you have the ocean, you're 7 miles off the coast, and the ocean is just frozen solid down to the ocean floor. They went out there, built an ice road, and they excavated 5 square acres of ice down to the ocean floor, and then filled 200,000 truckloads of gravel, these bags that are bigger than this room, and filled gravel bags and just started stacking them.
Jeez.
And they built an island. And then when the ice melted, there was an island.
The island stayed.
Yep. And then that's where they.
What if it would have just fallen apart? Like, fuck!
Well, I hope they planned it out a little bit better than Joe did his future. You know,
Someone invested a lot of money in filling gravel bags.
What a contract that would have been.
But you know, doing the directional drilling out there, that was just like they identified well sites for that was like, we need to drill from here, and so they built an island.
That's
and
crazy.
So I guess with enough money, you can do whatever you want.
You can do anything.
You can build an island.
Yeah.
So I show up at this island, you know, fresh with a psychology degree from New York, and I remember the first night I'm in like the dining hall, and there's all these like roughnecks and all these guys, and I learned real quick to stop telling people I'm from New York and that I have a degree in psychology, because it wasn't great conversation starters. Like people are like, oh, you reading my mind? Like I was just like,
You get out of my mind, Joe.
yeah. I'm
Because that's what psychology is.
You want to go for a swim tonight?
Yeah.
Are you a freaking wizard?
Yeah. I was way out of my element.
All right, Gandalf.
Yeah. But I learned real quick like how to blend in, and I made some cool friends, and I did that for almost 2 years. Like I worked on the slope and did that 2 and 2 and was living in Anchorage, and
That's what I did. Almost 2 years.
Yeah.
Like it's crazy how quickly it goes by.
yeah.
And like a lot of people in Alaska have done some rotations up there, or at least somebody did a job up there, whether it was dishwasher up to whatever.
Yeah.
Because it's
Or as a
great
contractor.
Yeah,
great money.
It's great money,
Yeah.
and it's like you said, you get 6 months off technically, working 2 on 2 off. But it is kind of like being a doctor or like a nurse, where it doesn't matter if Christmas falls on your schedule or a holiday or your kid's birthday or it's like that's your schedule.
Yeah. There's
not like, oh, here's to have the day off.
There's no calling in sick, or like it's different world.
Yeah. But it's the characters up there are absolutely insane that you come across, because you have guys up there that were at the beginning of the pipeline, essentially, that have been up there 40, 50 years. And you're like, how's this person still alive? And
the safety standards have
drastically changed.
Yeah, way different.
There's not a lot of hookers and blow that get delivered there like they used to.
The cocaine built the entire industry, and then now it's like they used to ride like cranes. They used to hop on the booms and like ride up to the on top of the rig and stuff. And now you can't even if you don't hold the handrail, you get fired. You know?
Literally, if there is any fluid that drops out of a truck, it's a spill essentially, and there is all these operations that you have to go through to check to make sure that, because it's all reported, all written down for like a drop of whatever,
which is cool because being someone
environmental,
it's someone
cool.
who it's like I'm not like I wouldn't say I'm super like tree hugger greedy, but like it's like okay, like we're drilling oil, like people are against this, like I'm up here
100%,
seeing it firsthand. It's cool to see that people that don't know, like
it's not crazy Wild West.
They spend a lot of money and time and training and precautions, and they do a good job of what they can with being on that ground. Like like if there's a herd of caribou going across the road,
you have to stop and
turn your truck off.
Yeah,
you can't honk your horn. Through. Like they try to be low impact.
Yeah, and it's like the people are always like, well, on the slope they're spraying oil everywhere, like it's probably oil spills all over the place.
You've been?
I'm like, you have no idea how crazy it is. You spill your coffee outside. They're like, oil.
Containment. Shut it down.
Shut the rig down immediately.
That is crazy. I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's very. I mean, the safety. Like a lot of the people up there.
It's probably out of necessity though, because like something happened in the past, and so now they have to tighten up.
People die out there.
They got sued for millions of dollars.
Yeah, the EPA became a thing.
Yeah.
Like, there's
accident. I mean, you're operating huge machinery that, I mean, if something goes bad, and with the temperatures, like a lot of people think Alaska's cold, and it is, but up there with the wind chill, like I was up there a couple times when I think we got to like -80 with the wind chill.
Yeah.
Like it's unbelievably cold.
Yeah,
and these guys are working outside.
I worked outside. Yeah, I was doing water wastewater, and I would alternate day shifts and night shifts. So each hitch I'd work 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. The next one I do the opposite. So I was doing the swing hitches, which was hard on sleeping and stuff. But I learned so much about myself and just like being able to like I was so underqualified and didn't know shit, and I went up there and was just like do my best to like be a quick on my feet. Like okay, I can't even ask my boss this because he's going to be like, wow, this guy's
there's not a lot of mercy up there in terms of not knowing how to do stuff.
Yeah, so you have to really be like,
fake it till you make it.
100%. Yeah, and a lot of dangerous stuff too. And one of the times I really fucked up that I got lucky doing the water stuff. So like the funny thing is we're out there on an island in the ocean, but they drilled wells 70 feet below the ocean floor for the drinking water. So like in the water world, you have surface water and groundwater, and the surface water has way higher like treatment restrictions because surface water can have biocontaminants and different whatever, and the groundwater's typically got a lot less stuff that can even be in it from the start. So groundwater treatment regulations are less stringent than the surface water. So for cost and for all their stuff, they drilled these wells down, but the water was 3 times higher salinity content than the ocean water from the ground. And so we had well houses, and the wells you'd pull the water out of the ground, and if you put it in a cup and set it on the table, it would scale over in like 30 minutes because the salinity content was so high. That's the type of water we're working with. So we would use these 20,000 gallon per day reverse osmosis water treatment systems, which are amazing. They're basically membranes that you push the water through high pressure, and out the other end, the only thing that comes out is hydrogen and oxygen. It strips the water of everything, the minerals, everything. So you have to then post-treat it as well to make it palatable. But you can piss in a bucket and then push it through, and there's potable water.
Do you guys do that?
Side. Well, the military uses it all the time for like when they're in remote places, and you can take mud puddle or you could take shit water. You could take water mixed with oil. It doesn't matter. Like these membranes, the only thing that will pass through them is hydrogen and oxygen.
Like those straws.
Yeah. Yeah. So really high pressure pumps.
You've seen those, right? The freshwater.
Yeah. I wouldn't trust that with some really nasty water.
We should try it.
Yeah.
Did you watch Maya Rudolph's new show?
No.
recently? No. She like now I'm just gone on a tangent. But anyway, she like puts billions into this new osmosis thing, and then she's like in front of thousands of people and live on TV, and then she's like, look, this is $1 million worth of work, and then she like, it's just this dirty ass water, and like the people are like, drink it, you have to drink it, you put so much money, and so she's like, this is so good, and so she drinks it. So but anyway, yeah, so not like that not like that at all.
Yeah, so this one time I'm out in this well house, and my boss was like, there was a pressure gauge on one of the lines inside the well house where the water is coming in and then pumping over to our treatment center. He's like, and I don't know shit about plumbing at this point. He's like, yeah, it's all like high pressure copper piping, and he's like, there's a leaky pressure gauge. He's like, we don't need the pressure gauge. He's like, I want you to go isolate it, cut it out, and then solder in just a connection to bypass that. And I'm like, yeah, I got it. And I'm like,
yeah.
So I go over there and I'm looking at this, and and it's like 80 below wind chill out. It's middle of winter, and I'm it's pitch black
Brisk.
outside. Yeah, and it's only like 100 feet from the camp, right?
Siri, how do you cauterize a portion of this copper?
I'm like, the stakes are high. So I'm out there, and I'm like looking at it. I'm like, I think that this valve cuts off this. And then, so I do it. I'm like, I look at it like 3 times. I'm like, I got it, and I go and I take the saw and I cut out the pressure gauge, and 50 psi of water just shooting, filling up the well house. I'm in my like Carhartt FR gear. I'm instantly soaked. I'm like panic mode, right? I'm like, the water. I'm like, this is life or death to me. Yeah. I'm like,
put your mouth on it or something.
I'm like, so I just start shutting valves, and finally the water stopped. And I'm like, there's 6 inches of water in this well house. It's 80 below wind chill outside. It's like 35 in the well house because they heat it, but barely. And I'm like, as soon as I open this door, I'm soaked. I'm like, I'm not even going to deal with this right now. I just need to go back to the camp and get changed. I walk outside, and I instantly start freezing solid. And I'm like walking back to the camp, and I'm like, am I going to make it? I'm going to be the guy that just freezes to death, like falls.
Yeah. He's just like the Tin Man.
Yeah. And I'm like, no one can see me. I'm going to get fired for this. So I make it into the camp,
you're going to die.
Yeah. I go into the bathrooms, and I could barely I was literally frozen solid. I could barely open the door, and I get inside, go into the bathrooms, and I just I go into like a stall, and I just wait until I just like thaw out into a puddle. And I was just sitting there like, what am I doing with my life? Like this. Yeah. So anyway,
I could be at Harvard. Right now.
Yeah. So my boss was cool, and it was no big deal at the end of the day. But so yeah, I learned a bunch of lessons like that up there, and it wasn't for me. I learned a lot. I left, I quit, and I moved to Anchorage, and I got a job doing some engineering work with commercial HVAC equipment. I was doing like automation for Meridian Systems, which is a small company in Anchorage.
So you just went from like not knowing anything about plumbing. Yeah. And then you got a job for $85,000 a year doing plumbing, and then you come to Anchorage. Don't know anything about engineering, but
I can spell HVAC.
Yeah,
pretty good. Yeah, that's a good start.
Yeah. So then you moved to Anchorage, and you're working with engineers.
Yeah. So basically, I had an entry level engineer job, but I wasn't an engineer. But I learned all on the job. I learned how to code automation with this computer program, and I worked out on JBear. So we were automating like boiler systems, ventilation systems, air conditioning systems, and we would basically, it's called direct digital controls. It's low voltage control systems that basically turn pumps on and make like VFD pumps spin at different speeds for water pressure. I learned a lot about that and actually became good at that. And then I did that for like 3 years, and that was a sweet job. The company was a employee owned company, so I learned about ESOPs and all that stuff, and that was cool. But then in 2015, I come back to Chuck, and I'm like, hey, Chuck, he's still working up in Denali, and I'm like, let's start a business. Like, let's start a t-shirt shop up there. Because I always, from that first summer in 2010, I was like, this is too easy. Like I got to do something up here with the tourists. And so we started a t-shirt shop called Wild About Denali, and it's kind of a spoof because there's actually a program in the park called Wild About Denali.
Okay, yeah, I was gonna say, I always think of the jingle.
Yeah, the funny thing is like if you work up in Denali as like a seasonal worker or a local, you call all the tourists wads because they're all wild about Denali. So that's just like the slang term, like the wads.
Hey, you
Dude,
wad.
I am so gonna go to
wads.
Talkeetna this
Yeah.
summer
Yeah.
and just be like,
Fucking
look at all
wad.
these
Yeah.
fucking wads.
So I was like, let's call it Wild About Denali. So,
I love that.
so we make this cool logo, and I cut my teeth in Illustrator and make the logo, and basically, you know, I had this idea. I was like, okay, we buy like a really nice vinyl heat press. I'm like, we're gonna source blank T-shirts from like Target and Walmart, and we're just gonna buy them local. So so I had this job. I'm still working for Meridian Systems. This was where my hustle started, and I look back on it, and I'm like, I hope my boss listens to this, because he'll be like, no way. But I had a company car, and I'd get off of work on Friday. I did this 17 weekends in a row in 2015. I'd get off of work on Friday at like 4:00 in Anchorage. I'd go to Target, I'd go to Walmart, and I would fit as many blank T-shirts that I could get in that. It was a little, you know, the boxy Scion cars.
yeah.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
got Meridian, the company logos all over the car. I fill this car up with T-shirts. I'm not joking, like packed to the brim. And Chuck was working the shop. So he was up there working it every day, 24/7. And I'd show up with all these T-shirts, and I'd work at the shop with them for the weekend.
What was it? Just like a shop on the strip?
It's right next to the Tesoro gas station, right across from the Princess Hotel. It's still there.
Oh,
Wild About Denali. It's, if you go up there right now, you'll see it. It's right where the Tesoro gas station is in Denali Park.
okay.
So
We're gonna go up there.
my friend,
Go see Chuck.
my boss Paul, who I did the photography for, owned the property, and he rented us the space.
Oh, no shit.
He was a good supporter of us and stuff. So anyway, I'm like, what are we gonna do though? We can't just like if we're gonna be doing a heat press and making, you know, shitty quality vinyl press T-shirts. I'm like, what are we gonna do? So
they gotta say more than wad on
yeah,
it.
it can't
Okay.
say, because there's something ironic about the wads buying the shirts that are almost mocking them, and I was like, I don't want to just do that. So I decided that I'm like, I had been in the tourist stuff, and I'm like, people really like to connect to like the local area, the park. Like, what's cool about this? That, like, you know, like you go to a brewery, you want to buy that T-shirt because you went to that brewery, right?
Yeah.
I went to this brewery in New Mexico, whatever. It shows you went there. It's cool. So I was like, we need to do something different. So I took Denali National Park's large, right? It's I can't, off the top of my head, I should know this. It's like 5,000 something miles, like squared, like in size, right?
Massive,
It's one of the top 5 largest national parks in America. It's actually by size, it's larger than 9 U.S. states, size wise. So I said, okay, this is cool. We got people coming from all over the country. I took Denali National Park, the outline of it, which is kind of cool looking, and I scaled it. And in Illustrator, I scaled every single state to Denali National Park and made 50 different vinyl press like graphics that whatever state you're from, like say you're from Ohio, right? Ohio's small. Ohio fits inside of Denali National Park.
Yeah.
So I had the outline of Ohio. It would be inside the park to scale. And then, like, say you're from California, the park's obviously smaller, so the park would be inside California. But every state had Denali National Park to scale.
Oh, that's cool.
Gotcha.
So we had all these 50
Fancy.
different designs on the wall. So you're from California, you come in, and we would, you know, you pick your T-shirt size and color, and we press you your shirt. And so it went pretty well. Like, we didn't make any money, but it was like, I thought
we broke even.
Yeah.
Did you at least break even?
Maybe. I don't
Maybe.
think I did. I think I gave everything to Chuck at the end of the day.
Yeah.
It was like, good luck. But
yeah.
But
Good luck, Chuck.
But for
Like the movie.
yeah.
Yeah.
But for 17, like literally 17 weekends in a row, working a full-time job, I would I'd go to Target and Walmart, leave Anchorage at 6 p.m., drive all the way to Denali, work all weekend, and then Sunday at like 6 p.m., drive back, go back to work 7 a.m. Monday morning. 17
Yeah.
weekends in a row.
That's what they call the hustle.
In the work car. Without permission.
I do love that. I do love that.
I'm gonna need some mileage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you ever get found out?
No.
They're like, this Scion's got 1,300,000 miles on
Yeah,
it.
it's just like fucking Ferris Bueller trying to
Yeah.
reverse shit.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, oh boy,
Pretty
I'm
much.
in trouble.
I was like, I was just like, if I got caught and fired, whatever, but I was just like, I'm going for it.
I love that.
So at the end of that summer though, I'm like, I got the itch now. I'm like, I want to do something. I don't want to work in HVAC. I want to do something. So my first 2 summers when I was working in Denali, I started taking the train to and from Anchorage when I'd show up instead of getting rides. And we'd always stop in Talkeetna, and it would be like a 20-minute stop. And I'd run into town. I'd go to Nagley's. I'd walk around. I'm like, damn, this town's fucking cool. And I fell in love with Talkeetna, even though I didn't spend any time there. I was just like, this place, if I could live anywhere in Alaska that I've been so far, like I want to live here. So I kind of just had subconsciously had this sort of like love for Talkeetna. And I remember when my parents first visited, it was that summer, that 2015, they came up and we stopped in Talkeetna. And I don't know if you remember, but before the high expedition occupied the cabin that it is now, it was the Talkeetna chocolate corner. So I think it was for 16 years, it was a high-end European type chocolate shop. And so it was still the chocolate shop when took my parents there, but it was the first year it became for sale. So there's a for sale sign in the window. And my dad, I grew up in a log home. My dad it's a log building, really cool scribed, logs. We go in and there's this old, grumpy German lady working in there. And
that's very Willy Wonka.
Yeah, it really was. Yeah. And my dad and I take a tour and we go upstairs. My dad's just there. He's just checking out the log work. Like I'm not even thinking like I'm going to one day own this cabin.
Yeah.
Great wood here.
Yeah.
Great wood.
Like taking photos.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't know if I really consciously thought like this could be the place where I'd do something. But
right.
Remember, like 2014 is when Alaska legalized cannabis. So this is 2015, and I'm involved. Like I was paying attention and kind of involved with the petitions and the voter initiatives and the ballots that got us to be legal, because Alaska did it through voter initiative. It was the same year Oregon legalized. It was November 2014. So, and I'm like, I was the kid that was writing like an AP literature in high school. I'm like writing papers on why cannabis prohibition has failed and like why it should be legal. And I was more of an advocate than like just like the stoner, right? I was like really believed in it and was like, this is ridiculous that this is illegal. And so I'm thinking the wheels are turning for me that summer. I'm like, I want to start a brand. I want to start a dispensary. Like I want to do a retail dispensary. Like that became my ultimate dream. And then I'm like, it all started clicking. I'm like, Talkeetna, this log cabin, it's for sale. And like after that visit with my parents, I was like, something clicked, and that's when it started. And by the next summer of 2016, how it all happened was I had like $10,000 saved from the slope. Like I was traveling, I didn't have any money really, and my parents are teachers. Like it's not like I just had the ability to, like, the cabin was for sale for like $380,000. And
that's nothing.
Yeah, I'm like, I so
I'll take it for 10.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can keep the chocolate.
Yeah. Think about how much chocolate this could get you. Okay. And my dad said the wood's kind of shoddy.
Yeah.
So
the bottom 3 logs are starting to rot.
Yeah.
So, but at the time I was actually getting really into penny stocks, and I was trading like over the counter, like cannabis stocks, like Canadian stocks. And all these weed companies were popping up, and I was really into it, and I was actually doing good at it. I'd wake up in Anchorage I'd wake up at 4 a.m. when the market's open on the East Coast, and I'd put in a bunch of calls and stuff, and I'd make trades.
Man.
And I turned like $1,000 into like 20 grand.
Whoa.
In like 2 months. And I thought I was like, I'm going to.
With penny stocks?
Penny stocks, yeah.
Damn.
Day trading. I was reading all these forums, and I was just like trading, and I got really into that.
You were in the green stocks. Yeah.
Yeah. They're calling them, the over the counter market. Basically.
Right.
They're not on any of the major exchanges.
Kyle used to do that, and he tried teaching me once, and I was just like, within the first 5 minutes, I was like, I'm good.
It was cool. I'll never do it again, but I did well. I ended up losing it all, but when I was at the height of like, I made some money, I was telling my dad about it, and he told one of his friends who had this lady he worked with who was also a special ed teacher. She had just inherited some money from her aunt passing. And my dad's like, yeah, Meg wants you to manage some of her money and invest them in these stocks. And I'm like, oh, this might be something.
Yeah. Hedge fund.
Yeah. I'm like, all right. So, but then I thought about it. I was like, wait a minute. If she just inherited money, I'm like, fuck the stocks. I'm like, so I called her up. I never met her in my life. I'm like, Meg, there's this building in this cool little town called Talkeetna.
Let me tell you about something better.
Yeah, it's for sale.
This is your pitch.
Yeah, my first pitch. And I said, the guy's willing to owner finance it for $100,000 down. I said, instead of you giving me money to manage in these really risky stocks, which I've done okay, but really they're risky. Like we're probably going to lose it all. I'm like, why don't you just invest in this property with me? And I want to start a dispensary here. And you'll have equity in the property. You'll have protection. If I fail, you can just sell it and get your money back. and she was on board. I mean, it took me 6 months to convince her, but
I was wondering.
Oh yeah. It was a lot of phone calls. I'm like, I'm at work, like calling her, like trying to, it was a lot of finagling.
What year was that? 2015?
Yeah, it was like 2015.
So
like
still new.
Super new. So if you remember, like our legislation passed November of 14.
Mm-hmm.
The first dispensaries didn't open in Alaska till late 16.
Yeah.
It took 2 years for the legislation to go through, and then for the licenses to actually be permitted. So I'm still like in the middle of it. Like no one's even open yet. No one's even. The applications aren't even out yet. So it's still like new. We don't even know. Like there was a lot of unknowns. Like what are the setbacks going to be? How far from a school do you need to be? All these things. And the property that I was looking at, there was some question. There was a park right next to it. There was some things that could instantly negate it from even being a viable option to be a legal marijuana business. So, but I was like, it'll be okay. I was just like, I'm going for it.
That's what you got to do. You got to believe.
And what's just curious, because like you said, away from school, what was the distance? Do you remember?
Yeah. So they kind of modeled it after Colorado.
Right.
And so it ended up being, you need to be 500 feet from a school.
Which is insane because it's like, what if you're
and it's as a
499?
Nope. You're
right.
done.
It's like
they'll bring surveyors out and you're done.
Right.
And that actually shut me
kids
down in Anchorage, which I'll tell you about. But
give the surveyor like a little bit of.
Well, just the idea of this arbitrary number.
It is arbitrary.
Like,
churches,
500 feet makes it okay.
Yeah. I got to be 500 feet from a church. Like, why? Like what?
God could smell it. God can smell it.
My highest paying clients are Christians. Okay. So I don't even want to hear it.
They're going to be the first in line.
Yeah.
They don't want to walk further than 500 feet.
They want to see God.
Yes.
That's how we're going to get them.
Yeah. So I convinced her we get the property. And at this point, I put every dollar I had into the down payment too. And I have no money. I'm still working this job in Anchorage. And this was in, late 2015. So that winter from 15 to 16, I'm driving up to Talkeetna every weekend now. And I'm living in the cabin on the weekends. And so I said, I don't know anyone in town. The first thing I did, I took everything from that. They took all the chocolate, but they left like, a couple of chocolate. God. Yeah, I was like, but they left.
It's like, I thought you were going to say I was living off of chocolate for the first
three months.
Yeah.
Basically.
Put on 47 pounds.
There was no water, no heat. I had brought like 3 electric heaters and I sleep upstairs with it.
You can melt chocolate.
Yeah.
Make hot
I'm hauling water. Yeah. But the first thing I did was I got on the Talkeetna Trader Facebook page and I gave away everything because I was like, we're going to make this nice. I'm like, I don't want, they have like 200 wicker baskets, all this ugly shit. I'm like, none of this is staying. I don't want it. I don't want to deal with trying to sell it. So I literally had like a yard sale that was free and everyone in town came and I was giving away displays and wicker baskets.
You got in good with the
community.
And
I met a lot of people. Yeah. I met a lot of people that way, like really quickly.
Cool.
And my intentions were known and people were like, people were interested and curious, and
I'm sure you had some
haters.
Haters.
We can talk about that. Yeah, so
I'd be curious.
So
we're gonna name them.
Oh yeah,
so stay tuned until the end of the podcast. We're gonna name each and every hater.
Yeah, I've been waiting for this.
And
your
address. Yeah, by the way.
Yeah. So I start fixing the cabin up. Right, I'm like chinking the logs and I'm cleaning the logs and just doing low cost stuff at the time, just to kind of pass time. And at the time I'm building a business plan. I'm like, I need to get an investor. I was like, I need to borrow money or get an investor. There's no way I can pull this off to pay the lawyers and the licensing fees and build out a retail store the way I want and build a brand that I want. I envisioned this brand that was, going to be something cool. But the crazy,
cool. Yeah, that was it, man.
Cool.
I wanted it to be something cool.
Yeah. But, but like, I wanted it to be not just like Joe's Pot Shop. I wanted it to be like, I want to make an actual like legacy brand that's going to be tied into the history and be something that will outlive me. It was like, I love
that.
I wanted it to be a brand that wasn't like in 20 years, people are like, oh, they sell weed. It's like, yeah, like that's a brand. Like we sell merch, we have apparel and things that like, but we also have a brick and mortar cannabis store. That was always my approach. Cause we don't need to just be another weed store. Like anyone can open up a shop and sell, and before we know it, you can go to fucking Tesoro and buy joints. Like that's going to happen. So like, how do you be different? How do you set yourself apart there? So, so the craziest thing was also like to talk about the brand and how it all started and the idea of it. Cause I'm not from Alaska and I don't know much about the history. I'm kind of getting into it. When I closed on the property, the German lady's husband, who was also the realtor, ironically, this guy named Klaus, who's a legend.
I was going to guess his name and It wasn't going to be Klaus, but it was going to be close.
Yeah.
Oh,
To that.
it was gonna be close.
Klaus?
Is his name Klaus? No, it's Klaus.
Klaus. Yeah. So
Santa? Klaus.
Klaus says, you know, I can't do it, but a thick German accent. He's like, Ray Genet built this cabin. And I'm like, who? He's like, oh, Ray Genet. And I'm like, I don't know who that is. And he's like, he was a famous mountain guide and he built this cabin in 1976 and he was the first guide on Denali and started telling me all this shit. And I'm just like, that's cool. I'm thinking like, I'm not thinking anything about this is going to ever matter to me, but I'm just like, that's cool. Like every building in Talkeetna is historic. Every building in Talkeetna is historic. It's all got a history. And I'm like, cool. So, but then I start like a couple nights go by and I'm thinking and I Google them. There's not much on the internet. I go over to the ranger station and I'm like, you guys got any info on this Ray Genet guy? And they're like, oh yeah, like you're pretty famous actually in the climbing community, which turns out climbing world, you can be really famous and no one fucking knows who you are.
Right.
So I start reading some books and looking into it. And turns out he's this guy that was born in Switzerland, total rock star, like wore a red bandana and aviator sunglasses and was like a total outlaw. He was the first guide on Denali, like bootlegged it, like wasn't like he had no experience climbing. He just came over here, snuck over the border through Canada illegally. He drove a red Cadillac convertible around Talkeetna and picked up his clients and stuff like in the early 70s. He was on the first winter ascent of Denali in 1967, which like he saved everyone's life. Dave Johnston and all these famous climbers from Alaska. If you read the book Minus 148, it tells you the whole story. But he lied about his experience and like totally bootlegged his way onto this trip. And when he was a part of the first successful summit, winter summit of Denali in 1967.
Wow.
That's the one field where I don't really want you to fake it till you make it kind of thing.
No, but he did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He actually survived.
He did. And he saved the group. They got weathered in at like 18,000 feet on their way down.
Yeah, it's a famous book.
And
right?
it's a famous book.
Yeah.
And they were basically accepted their death. They're like, we're out of fuel. We don't have any way to cook food. We're going to die here. And he went out into a whiteout and they're like, Ray's never coming back. And he was looking for an obscure cache that they didn't even know if it was there. And he comes back he found it and found fuel and shows up and he
Bag
sustained
of Trader Joe's.
Yeah. Sustained him through the night.
Burritos.
Yeah.
A couple beers.
We got some McDonald's, guys. Very impressive.
Right around the corner, dude, actually.
Yeah.
You'd be very surprised.
Yeah. So anyway, so then 1969, he starts Alaska Mountain Guides. It's the first actual commercial guiding operation on the West Buttress of Denali. Ray had over 30 documented summits of the mountain. That's just documented, probably more than that. And he ultimately died in 1978. Yeah, no, 79. 79, he died on Everest. So he summited
on Everest.
He died on Everest. And so he summited. He got into a group and I guess he was considered an American at that point. I think he was like the 8th American to ever summit Everest. 1979 summits. There's this doctor named, I think it was like Gerhard Schmatz or something, a German guy that was part of the group. And Ray got separated with his wife, who was with Ray, and it was bad weather, and this lady, Hannelore Schmatz, was with him. And what they think happened was they bivvied the night. They were only like 500 feet below the summit, and they tried to bivvy to make it out through the storm, and they ran out of oxygen. They think that Ray, they don't know because they both died, but Ray gave his oxygen to this lady because they found her like another 500 feet further down the mountain.
Yeah.
And so, but they found him dead in the tent. And so, but they never recovered his body. So he's still up there.
Oh, wow.
Buried under.
Yeah. Because don't they leave most of,
at that high they do.
Yeah.
So
the dead zone.
Yeah,
and
I think he's the highest dead body on the mountain. He's only 500 feet below the summit.
Jeez.
Yeah, I've heard that like you go up and you summit Everest and like you'll see.
Oh yeah,
they just like they're there.
There's like green boots and they have like there's like markers, and they're just there and they're too dangerous to recover and they're just part of the mountain now.
Yeah, it's so crazy.
Which is kind of crazy because like everybody's like, why don't they bring the bodies down? And it's like, well, at that point it becomes dangerous to try to get them out at that level. Is it because of the oxygen mainly?
It's just because the rigging
or just where
it's like if it's even 20 feet off the main path and it's like
it's risky,
you slip, you're done. And I think there's some spiritual things as well. Like there's some things that might not be talked about as much, but just about like letting them rest where they are. Like I think there's some of that going on.
Yeah.
The mountain took them.
Yeah.
So
It's like,
let them rest on them.
Yeah. So anyway, my wheels are turning now. I'm like, this guy's a fucking badass. Like he's a G, like he wears a black one piece snowsuit and red bandana, and his nickname was the Pirate. Like he was like had a
my god, and
I'm like,
fucking
I'm like,
right
he wasn't just some like square climbing nerd that like you couldn't model a brand about. But I'm like, this guy is like has the bravado, and you could make like this guy himself is like a character like larger than life that you could create a brand around. And I'm like, he built the cabin, and I started. So I find out that he has a living family. His son, who was 1 year old when his dad died and was at Everest Base Camp waiting for him. And Sir Edmund Hillary, who was the first one to summit Everest, flew him and Ray's widow, Kathy, flew them from Kathmandu to base camp because like Ray had been missing and there were search parties and stuff. And so he was like a 1 year old white baby at Everest Base Camp in 1979. Waiting, and then they got the news that your dad's dead. But Sir Edmund Hillary flew them in his helicopter.
Oh wow!
And so some really cool climbing history there for the climbing nerds. But basically, this and his son's name is Taurus, and Taurus is a good friend of mine. He's still alive. He lives out at Pirate Lake, which is named after Ray. It's literally 8 miles from the toe of the Ruth Glacier in the Alaska Range. It's got some of the best views of the mountains. Ray homesteaded this 80-acre parcel on this lake, and was going to build like ecotourism lodges, and I had all these plans. I found all these drawings and stuff. So I get a lead to contact Taurus. He was also at the time the youngest person to ever summit Denali. He summited when he was 12 years old.
Oh my gosh!
But he lives this very remote, obscure lifestyle with his wife.
Where's Pirate Lake?
So it's if you fly in, if you've ever done a flight seeing tour in the Alaska Range, like with K2 or Talkeetna Air Taxi, you've most likely flown up the Ruth Glacier up into the Don Sheldon Amphitheater. So the toe of the Ruth Glacier, which is right at the base of the Takosha Mountains, Pirate Lake is right next to like kind of where the Tokasitna River is the mouth of it is. It's about 8 miles from the toe of the Ruth Glacier.
Okay.
It's like front and center, right in front of the Alaska Range on the south side.
Shit, yeah. Is this on the road system?
No.
Okay.
They
so
live off the
there.
road system. They live there for 20 years, and they come into town 3-4 times a year, but they live out there. No electricity, it's remote. Like they're living off grid. Yeah, they're doing it. And so, but they're living in the cabins that his dad built. And Taurus is, he's 41 or 42 now, and but they live an awesome life, and they're awesome people, and they have some cool projects they do and stuff. But so I'm like, okay, I've decided now, and how I came up with the name, The High Expedition. I'm sitting in the Roadhouse one day, and I'm like looking around. If you've ever been in the Roadhouse, they haven't been open in a couple of years.
Because they haven't been there since they were open.
Yeah, they're going to reopen this summer, hopefully. But it's a place that a lot of the climbers would go to. And so if you look around the walls in there's like all these expedition flags, right? So from like failed and successful expedition climbs, there's all, team so-and-so from, wherever, like Australia. And they're all signed by the team. There's all these expedition flags that have probably been up to the summit, and they've tacked them on the walls and whatever, because the Roadhouse was a place people would congregate and before and after climbs, and it was just a very social place. And I'm sitting in there eating breakfast one morning, and I'm looking around at all these flags, and I'm just like, it just hit me. I'm like, High Expedition. Yeah. I'm like, boom. And I just like, it just sounded right, and I just rolled with it. Because every flag had the word expedition on it. And I'm like, expedition.
High?
Yeah, and then High Expedition.
Double entendre.
Yeah. And then I thought High X, and there's just all these things that started, like happening, and the High Expedition, the acronym is THE. So like the like the High Expedition Company. So I was like, okay, this is like, instantly there was some things I was like, and I've named like pretty much all the brands I've created, Holocene, Plant. I've had help on some of those with some team members, but I've felt strongly about the naming of things, and I really enjoy that part of the process.
Interesting.
Like I'm talking like 100 hours of whiteboard sessions with things crossed out for weeks, and then you land on this one name. But there was a lot of things that didn't make it. So
I'd be curious to see that whiteboard.
Yeah, I have some photos and some stuff.
I would be curious to see what was up on that.
I have 4x8 whiteboards that just cover my rooms. I'm a big whiteboard guy.
I love whiteboards.
I whiteboard nonstop.
The low expedition. No, if something is not working.
Yeah. So I'm like, I got to talk to Taurus. I'm like, I want to create a lifestyle legacy brand about Ray Genet. He's going to be the guy in the logo. He's going to be the face of it. And we're going to make this brand about this guy.
And you need to have,
I got to get the family's blessing. Right?
Permission.
So I get the contact. He's at Pirate Lake. You got to take a float plane to get out there in the summertime. So I get on a float plane. I contact him via phone, and I tell him.
So they do a phone. Yeah, you just didn't show up because I was imagining
he was super skeptical. He's like, "Who are you? Like, you're just some kid from New York that wants to like use my dad's face."
I'm Joe.
I'm Joe.
Let me tell you about med school.
Yeah.
Okay.
I worked on the slope. Come on.
Yeah.
Man.
I almost went to Harvard.
Almost.
Yeah. So. And I get it. He was probably like, what the fuck is this guy doing? So I like tell him, I'm like, yeah, I want to start a marijuana business and use your dad's face as the logo. And imagine that, right? You're like, my dad didn't smoke weed. Like, I don't know about this. But I'm like, just hear me out. I'm gonna just meet you. I want to talk about it. So I hop on the float plane. We land at Pirate Lake. And all I remember is just, it was like George of the Jungle. Like this guy with long hair just comes, I'm not even exaggerating, he comes sprinting out of the woods. And just swan dives into the lake and swims like 50 yards up to the plane and just gets up on the pontoon. And the plane's just kind of like, idle taxiing at this point in the lake. And he's on the plane now. And I'm like, this must be Taurus. And I'm like, and he just gives me a huge hug and soaks me. And like, that was my initial meeting him.
Oh
like,
my gosh.
On a plane.
First off, scary.
Little scary.
Second off, like, okay.
Yeah.
Like, all right.
I was like,
he just says it's a no for me, dog.
Yeah.
And then like turn the plane around.
Drowns me. Like,
He just fucking jumps back in, swims back.
We'll see you later. So how did you get his phone number?
Just like everyone in town knows Taurus, like he's his
just the legacy.
Yeah, it wasn't hard. It wasn't hard. Yeah, it wasn't hard to get it. And so
so how does he doesnesn't have electricity? How does he got a phone out there?
He's got a sat phone.
His story's got home.
Yeah. He's got a generator and charges, but he doesn't have like they're off grid. Yeah.
Yeah. You get a CD radio.
You can't just call him whenever you want though. It's like he calls you, But I got a hold of him.
Fucking baller move.
Yeah, I got a hold of him. And so we had the initial meeting. It was really authentic, really cool. I was like, damn, this is like I could tell I was like, he's into this. Like we're gonna make this work. And so I wait till he comes back into town and we meet up and we have coffee and some lunch and stuff. And I tell him like, I don't really know what this looks like, but I'm like, what I want, I'm like, he tells me like, oh yeah, I have a lot of stuff from my dad, photos, videos,
cool,
all kinds of stuff. And so he agrees to show me this stuff. And so I didn't know this existed, but I started looking at it and I'm like, holy fuck, like this is actually like, this could be something really cool. He had Ray always, for the 10 years he climbed in the Alaska range, he always had a film camera, a 35 millimeter camera with him. I was able to procure 3,000 Kodachrome slides. So when you look at my Instagram, the High Expedition, all those vintage photos are all from Ray's camera. They're all from his collection. I took back, what was that? The photo company that went out of business.
Kodak?
No, in Anchorage, they scanned, you could go bring your film there and they'd develop it. They'd scan slides. Stewart's
is still there.
Oh, they're still there? Okay.
Yeah, I don't know if they do. I mean,
maybe they stopped
do
doing
film.
Maybe they stopped doing what I was doing. But for a time, I went to Stewart's and paid them a lot of money to basically take. So, well, I'm getting ahead of myself.
Digitize it.
Yeah, he agreed. Okay, we had lawyers draw up contracts, and so essentially the family is benefiting through a royalty from the business. So they get a check every quarter, and they're benefiting from the business. And in exchange, they gave us exclusive rights to his name and likeness. And also, if you've been in the High Expedition, you've seen all the vintage ephemera and ice axes and boots. It's all his stuff. It's his suit. It's his boots. It's his ice axes. So it's sort of like a museum in there. It's like it's Ray's stuff. And so a lot of the tourists come in just to see that. They hear like, oh, we want to go like learn about this and see this. But the photos were the thing that really got me excited because I'm like, I didn't know anything about a Kodachrome slide. I'm like, I have boxes full of these things and they're all fire damaged and moldy and a lot of them are dirty. Some of them are nice. Some of them are totally out of focus, but I take them all to Stewart's and they digitize all of them. And I'm just sitting there on my computer going through 3,000 slides.
Damn.
And I'm just like, this is gold. I'm like, this is amazing. Like these are photos that for a lifestyle brand, Alaska brand, for like, this is just like, and then
content.
The crazy part is,
forever.
so to the summit, it wasn't my idea. It's how Ray signed his name on everything. That was his. Like everything in the brand comes from Ray. Like it was, I basically said, I want to make a brand about Ray Genet. And then when I acquired all the stuff from the family, I started realizing like, wow, this guy was already self-branding. Like this guy was a brand. And I just basically try to keep it as authentic and original as possible. And, we obviously, so like the High Expedition logo, the shield, it's basically the Alaska Mountain Guides logo. It's the color. We literally copied the colors. We got out the Pantone books and matched them up and all we did was take out the core like mountain part of the center logo and then put in this illustration of his face. And then obviously the typography and everything was added, but the logo is the exact same shape, the exact same everything. It's basically, we just like said, the way I saw it was like Ray was like a visionary. He created this brand. He was the first climbing guide on Denali, already had this brand, and then he died and it just like ended, right? Yeah. He had all this momentum and work going. And then I just like found this treasure trove and I'm like, we got to like reopen this. And so then that's basically where we're at, is like, we got the family's blessing. And now we have the High Expedition, which is basically just like I feel like we're continuing what Ray started. And To the Summit was like, we have him on voice recording saying it. If you were a climber, paying him to guide you on his like intro, his like introduction packet for like the climbing expectations, it's like signed Ray Genet, To the Summit, exclamations. Like that was like his thing. He's how he signed his name.
No way.
Yeah. So now I'm like, okay, now we got to create a brand. I'm like, we got this all right. Now we like, and I'm not like, I'm into art, but I'm not like a professional graphic. Like I didn't make this script logo. Right. I was like, I need to get someone to help me. I have the ideas and I know what it looks like, but I need someone that's a pro that's going to be expensive to like make this real. So I had this mutual connection to this guy named Matt Varnish, and he's in Colorado, and it was actually Mike Green, the original guy I told you about. He's like, talk to my friend Matt Varnish. He designs a lot of beer can labels for people. And I'm like, that's cool. That's that's in the realm. Yeah. It turns out he designed the Stadium Arcadium album artwork for Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Oh, whoa.
He's designed 3 album artworks for Ben Harper. He used to have milkshakes with Ben Harper, like designing his album artwork for him. And I'm like, sick, this guy's going to be good. So I send Matt Varnish everything I have. I write him up all these things. I had mood boards. I had everything. I'm like, wow. This is the brand. I'm like, we need to make, I'm like, the shop opens in 4 months. Like we need to do this right at this point. And I'm like, and he was like, he wasn't sold. Like he didn't see it. He didn't understand. Right. He was like, who's this Ray Genet guy? Like no one's going to know him. Like, why is he cool? And I was like pulling my hair out. I'm like, no, I need you to like be stoked and like
his nickname is the Pirate.
The Pirate, yeah.
Hello. Yeah. That's all you need to know, dude.
Listen, Varnish.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're good at
yeah. So, and I know like you like branding and stuff. So I wanted to like tell this story because like it wasn't me. It was partly me, but there was some people involved that made it actually be next level. And so Matt Varnish finally sends back a first like proof of like some ideas, right? So the first deck, and I'm just like devastated.
No,
I've already spent like 10 grand on this, and I'm like, this sucks. I'm like, he doesn't get it. And he would have called it Joe's Pot Shop and made some generic thing, right? Because he didn't understand the Ray Genet thing, and he wasn't. I'm like, well, come here. I'm like, I'll buy you a ticket. Just come to Talkeetna. I'll show you the museum. I'll show you the shop. Look at the mountain. I'm like, maybe you'll get it.
Yeah,
I wouldn't do it. So fired him.
Ray wouldn't. I'm sorry. He said no to a free ticket to Alaska?
Yeah, he was too busy.
He wasn't buying the flight back. Yeah, he had to cover that.
I got enough to get you here.
You got enough to get here.
You got to finish this.
Everything's on your own after that.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so that was like, I was super bummed because I'm like, this guy's like, he worked with Red Hot Chili Peppers. Like he's a pro. He's working for Coda Brewing in Colorado, like doing like legit, like I looked at his portfolio. It was sick. He did like one of the box sets for World of Warcraft. Like he's all over, he's doing branding and designing for all kinds of stuff.
That's cool.
So I was like, I thought I had the home run there, and he didn't do it. And so I remembered my friend. This is a crazy story. So my friend Ryan Dixon, who I'm sure he's gonna listen to this, but he's
Ryan's gonna listen to this?
Design genius. He is the one. He's involved. He's the maker of what you see in the High X merch and the branding and the shop. And so what happened was I met this. So he's from Williamson, New York, and randomly I don't know if where you're from, everyone would go to Myrtle Beach every year for spring break.
Yeah.
So we go to Myrtle Beach, right? So spring break, Myrtle Beach. I'm like 12 years old. I'm on the beach skimboarding, and I meet this kid named Ryan. And his name's Ryan Dixon. And I'm like, we're 12 years old. It's before Facebook or cell phones. And it's like, we become best friends for that week. Right. Yeah. Then we leave. And even though we're from an hour away or 2 hours, I don't see him for years.
I'll call you.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. So a couple years go by and then our spring breaks line up again and I see him again and we're like 14 or 15. We skimboard back and I'm like, still the technology still wasn't there to like keep in touch. Right. And so it was just one of those like, oh, I guess you're just my spring break friend. And we don't talk. And then like 2 years later, we're like 17. Played soccer my whole high school career, but I ran cross country my junior year. And we're at like the county meet at like Mount Morris or I don't know where it was, somewhere in New York. That's a small school. And I walked by him and we both like did a double take. We haven't talked in 2 years at this point. We've only met each other twice skimboarding. Yeah. And I'm like, and we figure out that.
Holy shit.
Like, Ryan, are we going to do this or what?
At this, at this point, we have MySpace, so we connect.
Are you going to send the request or what?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'm tired of trying to find you. Yeah. So
I've been playing hard to get for 4 years. Okay.
So that's how it feels. It's crazy that it's like the serendipitous of this and how it ended is insane for me. It's like one of the coolest things in my life because I go to school. He ends up going to RIT for design, Rochester Institute of Technology. And we became Facebook friends and we maybe talk. It was like we were just friends. It wasn't like nothing was happening. We weren't like working together, hanging out. And I think of him, I'm like, I remember seeing his work on like Facebook and so I'm like, he's killing it. Like his design stuff was sick and I really liked it. And I was like Hail Marrying. I'm like, what do I do now? I just spent 10 grand on this guy who was supposed to be like the best in the industry and he fucked it up. I'm like, I call my buddy Ryan. I'm like, dude. And so he's like, all right, well, send me what you got. Well, I'll see what I can do. And so I sent him the same thing I sent this Matt Varnish guy. The next day he emails me back a PDF with like, he nailed it. Gold, like the sketches, the ideas, the concepts to the summit and the mountain and the flags and everything I imagined. He just nailed.
Just nailed perfectly.
Yeah, perfectly. I'm like, dude, we could print this right now. Like this is great. And so I'm like, the shop opens in like 2 months. I'm like, we need to do this. I'm like, can I fly you to Alaska and will you come here and we'll jam this brand out together? And he was like, yeah, I can do that. He's like, I got time. So
it's been a while since we've been 17, but I'm in.
Yep. And I hadn't seen him since that cross country meet.
Really?
Yeah. So at this point we're 20.
So you guys have seen each other, your friends, three times in your life.
Yep. Twice skimboarding on Myrtle Beach, once at a cross country meet in passing. This time, now we're 25 years old, 8 years later. And he shows up. I buy him a ticket. He shows up in Alaska. And within a week from contacting him, he's in Alaska and he stayed for a week. I gave him the grand tour of all the businesses and the ideas and the museum and the shop and I took him on a flight up in the mountains. And by the time he left, the High Expedition brand was completed. The logo, the design suite, the merch packages, and we jammed it out. It was amazing. It was like one of the coolest. I'll never match that creative experience in my life.
But what if he would have said like, I'm just not seeing it, I just like
fuck you.
I probably would have just called it Joe's Pot Shop. I would have been like,
honestly, Joe,
am I stupid? Like I know.
Joe, I kind of missing the whole. Who's Ray?
Right.
I just don't get it.
Yeah. This bald bearded guy.
That would have been the ultimate irony.
Yeah.
Thanks for the ticket, but I just don't see it.
It's just. That's cool. I love moments like that. And I love that he was like, all right, yeah, I'm going to come up and like you show me around. And he got to experience it. I think that's the one thing with your first designer he really missed out on because he didn't see it. And like, I think that's also, we can feel the passion coming off of you when you talk about it. I think that's a different thing that you can get digitally.
Yeah, he's made it. He's worked with big people, and I think he was just like, oh, here's this 25-year-old starting a pot shop in this tiny town. He wants to make a brand about a climber. Like he
didn't see it as like a portfolio thing.
No, not at all. Yeah. He thought he was like steering me in the right direction. Like, you can make, like Trader Joe's, right? Let's make a generic thing that could maybe be like a household brand type thing. And I'm like, no.
Varnish.
Yeah. So he was thinking, okay.
Yeah, he was thinking that route, which I kind of get, but like, but Dixon was like, no, I see what you're doing. And like, this is cool. Like, this is authentic. This is a legacy brand. This is like a guy that, so like, he's the Michael Jordan of climbing. Climbing's not
that.
it's not like climbing is like Ray Genet standing on the summit with his ice axe is like the Jordan dunking. Like it's relevant.
It's iconic.
It's iconic, and it's the brand is iconic, and I think that's why a lot of people kind of dig it. And
100%.
We sell a lot of merch, and you don't even have to know who Ray is. Like you don't have to know that Ray made it to the summit. It's like to the summit, which we've trademarked, is like. It's like, just do it. What does it mean to you? It doesn't have to mean climbing Denali. It's anything. It's just do it. Or to the summit is synonymous with that type of message.
I think that's the beauty of like, good brands. When you think all of this through and you have like, so like, a lot of stuff, you see a logo and you're like, well, why did you do that? Colors are cool. Yeah. Like I don't know. I like it.
Fiverr.
The font's dope.
Fiverr.
Right. Or freaking 99 Designs.
Oh, yeah.
Or anything like that. But like, when you have like idea and the inspiration behind why you do it and why you choose what you choose, I think that's so much more powerful. And that comes across. And so when you were looking at To the Summit or looking at High Expedition branding or your packaging or whatever it is, or plant or Holocene, I'm like, oh yeah. They know why they chose this and why they're doing this. And that is good branding.
Yeah, you got to feel something. And
exactly.
You might not know what you feel, but
it's evoking emotion.
I mean, you guys are creatives, you get it. Like people sometimes don't understand like what really goes into it. And and it's kind of cliche, but it's like the amount of work that went just into like landing on a script logo for like why like, or like, why would Ray Genet already had this logo? Why wouldn't we just make our own? But no, we're going to actually like alter this original one. And like my business card is an exact replica of Ray Genet's business card. But you're not going to know that. But like every little detail was and in my mind, I'm like, one day when I'm dead, someone's going to look back and maybe connect these dots and be like, holy shit, like this was, every angle you look that no one sees at this point.
There's Ray.
Yeah. We thought about it.
Yeah.
But he was a visionary. He was ahead of his time. He did some badass shit. And I basically just rode his coattails. Like I latched on to what he died too soon. He left a portfolio of work and the blueprints to make and he never smoked weed. And the point of the brand was to not say Ray Genet smoked weed. It was like, no, this is a lifestyle brand To the Summit. It doesn't mean getting high. It can if you want, but he built this cabin. His stuff's in this cabin. The other ironic thing was that cabin after he died became the first National Park Service building. So we've now hijacked a old federal building and we're selling weed out of it, which is kind of funny.
Yeah.
People
very pirate-esque.
Yeah. So exactly. It is. It's like that's
good.
It's sort of like the audacious is sort of a word that we think of. Like it's like we're pioneering an industry. Like he pioneered climbing. We're pioneering the cannabis industry. It's like there's people that didn't like climbing. They didn't want people in the park. They didn't want them doing that. There's people that didn't want my shop to open on Main Street. There's like these parallels that always kind of kept me really stoked and like going. I was like, this is cool. Like I kind of feel I'm not badass enough to be like climbing the mountain like Ray was, but I feel like I'm doing it in my own way, and it was really fun for me.
See, I think that's kind of the inspiring part of your story so far is like you. First off, you had Ray Varnish or whatever,
Matt Varnish.
Basically say like, whatever, dude. And like, but you kept going. I think that's the thing with like entrepreneurs where it's like, I like this and I'm going to keep going. And then a lot of people can push back on that or like, whatever, not agree with you on stuff, but like there's a vision there. And I think it's believing in your vision is what sets you apart from the rest. You know what I mean? And I think that's really kind of something, I don't know. I could tell the first time we met was I was vlogging. Because I was thinking about it this week. I was like, all right, we're going to have Joe on. I'm like, well, how do I know Joe? Like, when was the first time I was vlogging?
Myrtle Beach. Skimboarding.
We're
12 years old.
No, my family, we went to Ocean City, New Jersey. And we went to Myrtle Beach, but Ocean City, New Jersey was like our main
Jersey Shore.
Every summer.
GT.
But we met, I was vlogging and like, I was like, oh, is it cool if I like record in here? And you were like, absolutely, like show the stuff off. Like I don't know, I think you might have said like, don't get this over here, but like this stuff is fine. And we, so I did, and it was like and I videoed you talking about this like very minuscule to what you just did, but like basically being like, this is what it's inspired by, this is what branding is, and this is like why we're here right now, and here's this suit and all this stuff. And it's just like even in that small moment, you're like, oh yeah, this guy, he's passionate about what he does. He's passionate about it. It's not, and really, I don't know. I mean, I don't smoke weed, but like I'm inspired by the branding, right? And I'm inspired by the lifestyle brand of what High Expedition to the Summit is, so there's something there. It's not just like a weed brand.
Yeah. Like I said, my goal was that in 20 years, people are going to like see a High Expedition hoodie and recognize it and then be like, oh, they sell weed?
Yeah.
Like that's for me would be a success. Like selling weed was almost a way to subsidize what the bigger vision was. And the bigger vision was to have a lifestyle brand, eventually functional apparel, like things that are high quality, maybe made in Alaska. And there was just like Talkeetna, you go there, right? The town itself is just, it's a brand, right? It's
100%.
Why do all the princess cruises go? Why do Alaskans like to go and hang out for the weekend? It's Talkeetna. It's at the confluence of 3 major rivers. It's 60 miles from the mountains. It's like end of the road town, all these things, right? So it's the jump off point for climbing expeditions. It's been that way for hundreds. It's gold mining district, all the history. And I was like, no one's really like, I don't even want to say exploit, but no one's captured this and harnessed this. Like, how do we take this thing that draws people here to hang out and enjoy it and be here? How do we turn that and then somehow have a brand that sort of reflects that emotion or that kind of vibe?
Yeah. Where do you think you got because I feel like a lot of people will be like, oh, I just want to start a business, but then they won't ask those kind of questions. Like, how do we capture Denali? And I feel like they'll just be like, this is cool, whatever, just put it out. Where do you think you got that from? Like, is that your, Princess Lodge days?
No, I think it's just something that I was always an artistic kid. I liked art. I liked to draw. I liked to doodle. I liked to be in nature. My dad, we hunted a lot. Be out sitting in tree stands. Like, I think I don't know. I couldn't, that's a great question. No one's ever asked me that, but I think Talkeetna itself did it to me. I think when I got there, it's almost like it invoked, like it brought out like the creative elements that I sort of had and the skills and the ideas and the things I gravitated towards were sort of like bottled up and then thrown back in my face. Like I was like, I have to do something with this. Like the way I feel, I have to do something with this. And I said, I'm someone from New York. I didn't even know people climbed Denali. Like none of this, and then now all of a sudden I'm like an expert. Like I'm reading books and I'm studying it. And I could tell you who like, I could tell you the history of climbing on Denali, like who summited first and when, and who did the Cassine Ridge first and all these routes. And I'm going to climb it one day because I can't wear this around all day and not go climb it one day.
Really?
But that's to be determined when I have the time to do it and stuff. But I'm still really interested in it. The history is like, I've become a nerd about it. And that's just because I live in Talkeetna now. And like me and my friend Lance kind of coined this term like Denali proximity factor. And it's like, we live next to like, Denali is the largest mountain in the world by mass. And like, spiritual or not, like there's something about gravitational feelings, things you're living in the shadow of Denali. And like every morning I wake up, I can just like, I feel like I'm close to that thing, and it's there. And that's sort of driving some of the creative effort. And so to the summit and like the mountain and being close to it, it's just like, I think living there and being there and experiencing it is the answer to your question. Like that, I wanted to reflect how I felt because not everyone can live there or ever will live there. So I wanted to figure out a way to take all those feelings and then make a brand that you can show up from Illinois and know nothing and be like, that shirt's fucking cool.
Yeah.
I don't know why it's cool, but I want that shirt.
Dope.
But I'm going to be wearing it.
Yeah.
That leads it to another question is like, there's a lot of reasons I feel like you could stay down in Talkeetna. It's secluded. It's, community or whatever. But what is your reason for staying out there? Because like, not only are you building a brand or you built a brand out there and a business, but you're living like 2 minutes away from it. because I've seen your stories, so I'm like, I know where he lives.
Yeah.
I know, because Talkeetna's not very big, so I'm like, okay, I know.
Yeah, I can walk to work or ride my bike, but yeah. So I got lucky, and I bought a house on the Village Airstrip, which also has a lot of history, and it was the first airstrip that like Don Sheldon and Cliff Hudson and all these famous Alaskan bush pilots kind of pioneered. And before the state airport was built, that was the main strip in town. The military used it. It was set aside by an executive order when FDR was president in the 40s to be only used for aviation. And so I'm actually the only person that owns a house and my yard is adjacent and connects to the Village Strip. So I park my airplane right in my yard. Actually,
That's so cool.
I park my plane closer to my house than my truck.
That's so cool, dude.
So that's why I live in Talkeetna now. I got back into aviation. I've been gung ho about it. After Christmas, I had like a 23-day streak where I flew every day for 23 days in a row.
Oh my God.
So every day I'm flying, and I go in the range and I fly in the mountains and I do my own photography and I'm out there flying. I know the mountains really well now. And I put my plane on skis in the winter and I pull up to my yard on skis in the wintertime, and I get out and try to do some backcountry snowboarding and stuff, accessing with my plane.
So you're outdoorsy.
Yeah, I enjoy it, and flying's really become my new passion. Like I have a manager now. Like I was saying, my business is sort of self-sufficient. You know, I'm still involved, and I'm there on day-to-day stuff, decisions and ideas, and just business stuff. But like we're working on new merch for this summer and getting all that going, and there's always something to do. But flying is like my new passion and my new thing that I'm like, I want to be a pilot when I grow up. Like that's my new thing. Like you can't like, I have other plans for High Expedition. Like we want to build an on-site consumption lounge and have one of those there behind the shop and have that experience. But that there's just some red tape still with that going on. But right now flying is the one thing that for me personally, like what do I enjoy? It's out there. The branding and the creative stuff. It's sort of when COVID happened, it kind of fizzled out. Like my team fell apart, like Dixon got a job. He was working for Apple as one of their head designers, and he's now working for Google and the Google shopping. He's like the head of designing the Google shopping experience. That's cool. Yeah. So he's a real pro, and he has 2 kids now. So his life has really changed, and he's got a lot going on. So we still talk a lot, and he'll send me stuff from, on Instagram, and we have fun. And
are you gonna like who? I mean, so then for new merch or whatever, you're not working with him. Are you doing it?
I'm doing it. I do it because like the design assets are deep. We have Google Drive folders for days that are
sick.
That no one's seen yet. So there's always like, and I've learned a lot. Like I've learned Illustrator, I've learned design techniques from him, working with him. I was always the guy that would like put together like an 18-page Google sheet, like mood board with references and ideas. And he would take that and then pop out the gold,
That's awesome.
So I have all that stuff, and I've learned a lot. But I might like make something and then show it to him and be like,
is this good?
It'll be like,
thumbs up, thumbs down.
Yeah. But I mean, like, at one time in the studio, we had Pantone books. We had, everything was like, it was legit.
Those are the best.
Yeah.
Especially, I feel like, I don't know. I can imagine being out in Talkeetna, and it's like, listen, we don't have to, that we can drink beers all night long. We can just hammer out these like designs or these details and just go back and forth. And like the tables are full of shit. The whiteboards are full. Like I can just imagine that. I'm like, ooh, that is like the money spot.
Yeah, we had our guitars and drum set in the studio. And it was like,
you're like, all right, break time. Let's just take a second. Let's just jam something.
I think we need to
really
jam
quick.
This one out.
Yeah.
That was it.
Just joints on rotation. Just like it was honestly the best time of my life. Like whether like the brand is doing well or the business is doing well, and it's successful by any definition. It's paying the bills and employing people and keeping me going. And now it's freed me the time to pursue flying and stuff. But man, I would trade anything to go back to like those moments where we're just like creating and like we had a team, like my good friends Ryan and Haley Dreamer, which you might have seen their video work.
I wanted to talk to you about them too, because I'm like, how fucking lucky are you that you just got like, because I looked at all their stuff on Instagram, which is, let's just shout them out really quick, at the Dreamers.
At Dreamers.
Dreamers.
Yeah.
I'm just like, how fucking lucky are you? They all of a sudden, like, the couple filmmaking. Have you heard of these guys? Okay. They're just like, out of all the people that could have moved to Talkeetna, I was like, you got really lucky and like just partnering with them, because their stuff is really good.
Well, yeah, they were doing stuff way before I met him, and then when I met him, I feel like we had a nice synergy. And I went to Europe. I did a trip with them to Europe, and we just did a bunch of shoots, like high experts in Europe. And but yeah, we've been working together still. Like they're about to do a short story on me as personally with flying. Like they're gonna shoot a short film and produce that for their own project. But like they did a lot of high X. Like Ryan is an amazing After Effects guy. He like animated our logo. Like he's just done all kinds of stuff. But yeah, they're. I mean, like your videos are amazing. I love your work too, and I feel like
don't say that. Don't.
I don't know. I saw the medium build. I saw the medium build video. It's pretty cool.
Saying
this
that
is a build up before you get to
but
I was gonna say, but their shit is better. But their shit is so much better.
Yeah,
and that's okay.
They have this thing like talent.
Like, yeah. I mean, I get it.
Thank God they moved to Talkeetna. No, yeah, it's cool though. I mean, like as we all know, like whether it's a brewery or a dispensary or a videographer, like Alaska just doesn't have a lot of people. So like or a podcast, whatever, like, you know, I hope this thing keeps going and blows up. Like, it's just cool. Like Alaska's always 20 years behind everything else or whatever it is. Right. And I feel I'm really stoked that people like will buy a t-shirt or enjoy the brand. People that don't understand the history, they don't need to. It's fun for me to share the story because I feel like a lot of people don't know it, and there is something cool about it.
It is really cool.
And I'm just like, and like, obviously I was the one kind of steering the ship, but a lot of it kind of fell in my lap. And it's one of those things where if you just believe in like, you know, it all started with the chocolate shop. I'm up there with my dad, and there's a for sale sign in the window. I didn't know what was going to happen, but I'm like, I want to put a dispensary in this building. I didn't know Genet was. Yeah. And you just go with the flow, and you're like, okay, I got the building. And the guy hands me the keys. He's like, Genet built this cabin. And I'm like, who the fuck's that? Yeah. A week, you know, or a month later, his son is swimming in the water. You know, it's like, it just
attacked me.
Yeah. And like
in a lake.
And like
in Pirate Lake.
I could just see your face being like, what the fuck?
Yeah. It's like looking back, and I haven't like told this story in a long time. It's like, it's fun to even for me to like go back and relive it and think about it, because I feel lucky. It's like I've met some awesome people. I've worked with some really cool people. And it's like, at the end of the day, for me, it doesn't matter the money, like all the stuff doesn't matter. It's all about like those experiences that I can recount and I'll never forget. And I can like tell my kids or tell my friends' kids one day, like it's really cool. Like it means a lot to me. And
I love that.
I don't know what's next, but like that, I've lived that. And it's like, from someone who grew up near Rochester, New York, like, we're way out of my element, and now I feel Alaskan. I feel like I've had an Alaskan experience, and I'll never leave. Like I'm hooked.
Oh, I love that.
You're stuck here.
I'm stuck, man.
Do you ever kind of like put yourself like thinking about like Ray and a lot of this brand is Ray? Do you kind of ever picture yourself like thinking if he would approve of certain things that you're doing, like? Not the pod aspect of it, but just in general, like, do you kind of always RD? That's what I was thinking. The bracelets, what would Ray do?
WWRD. That's a great question. So I've been working in the background on a documentary about Ray, and I've been lucky enough to interview some people that have since passed in the last 5 years that knew Ray, were friends with him, worked with him, climbed with him, knew him around town.
Sure.
And there's this guy, Jim Gleason, rest in peace, an amazing artist. I interviewed him back in 2018 in my house with Toby Harriman, who's a local videographer, photographer guy. Toby did some work with me, and Toby did the filming of that, and I did the interviewing. And I asked him that same question. I said, Jim, you knew Ray. You used to have coffee with him. Jim is like a famous local artist at the time in Talkeetna. He passed away, I think, 2 years ago. But amazing dude. And I hope these interviews surface one day because they're really well done. But I'm like, what do you think Ray would think of this? Like if Ray was alive, what would he think of me and what would he think of the brand? And he sat there and he acted like he was thinking real hard. And he's like, Ray would fucking love anything his goddamn face was on. And he just like meant it. And it was like basically saying like, he'd love it. Like he loved the attention. He was larger than life. Like,
that's awesome.
He drove around in his red Cadillac convertible with a bunch of young hot chicks. Like that was Ray. Like he was just a rock. He was a rock star.
Yeah,
I
love that.
Yeah, so
a modern pirate.
That made me and I've had that same thing kind of be confirmed through other interviews and other people. I've gotten to know a lot of the old timers that, like I said, some of them are now gone, and thankfully we've interviewed them and captured those stories. But nothing but respect. Like a lot of people are like,
sure,
we respect you. Like you came into this town, you saw the history and the meaning, and you basically, if I would have just not been interested in this dude saying Ray Genet, no one would know who he is. Like unless you're a climber in the book, but now people have a chance to like learn about this guy, and his family's benefiting from it financially and from like, I feel like his legacy being kind of carried on and continued. And the photos are now, they would have rotted away in a box. Now they're on Instagram. Now they're being shared. People are, there's naked chicks on food caches that people like, there's just cool photos and history that are surfacing that took a lot of work to do. But I'm really glad that we were able to like dig into this. And then like, imagine how many legacies like that have died or have gone rotted away in some cardboard box
throughout time,
through all industries. Right. And so like, it's just cool to be like, this isn't like, we're not like doing something like super crazy here, but this is a guy like the climbing industry, the climbing world is a thing. Like people climb Denali, people climb the 7 summits of the world. It's a thing. Like, it's not that far removed from like the NBA or other, mainstream type sports. And a lot of people do it for different reasons. They're not professional athletes, but doctors, lawyers, whoever have dreams and goals, women, children to climb these mountains for whatever reason. And, Denali is the tallest mountain in North America. It's a heralded mountain in the world to climb, and it's tough. And to be in Talkeetna, which is the base camp, to do that and to have this brand in this cabin, that this guy that was the first one to do it, it's like you start it starts bouncing around, and I'm like, it was a no brainer. Like it just fell in my lap.
Well, I feel like most people though would be like, oh, cool, Ray Genet, and then like not even think about it. Like that would have been so easy for you to do, but no, you looked it up and then you went to the
ranger station
and asked about it and kept going and going and going. I feel like
you're going to be a researcher. That's part of it.
There we go. That's probably,
Heidi, see, it worked. It paid off somehow.
It came off. Heidi,
he's not a complete failure.
He's not.
It. Couldn't have done that at Harvard.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I just think that's so cool. I think that your story is cool. I think what you're doing is rad out there. I'm stoked. I feel like every time I go to Talkeetna, whether I go in the shop or not, it's just cool to like be like, like you're our age. And you're like, it's just kind of like cool. You're like, fuck, like he's doing it. Like that's really kind of cool. Like we don't really know each other that well, right? We talk on Instagram when we see each other in Talkeetna. It's like, oh, hey, how you doing? Good to see you. How the kids? Whatever.
Yeah, and I just met Kyle for the first time at the Medium Build show.
Yeah, for like 2 seconds.
Yeah,
right. I mean, like, so really, this is the first time we've sat down and like had a conversation. And it's like, I can tell how like passionate you are about the brand and like going forward and moving, from New York to Alaska and how you talk about Alaska. So it's just really cool. So I feel proud of you, even though I barely know you. You know what I mean? I think you can feel that kind of coming off of like how you're talking about the brand. So yeah, I think like what's next? Do you have ideas? You did kind of say in like the last few sentences that you were like, oh, I don't know what's next, but do you have ideas? Because I mean, I feel like, Holocene, and we didn't even get to that too, because that's interesting in its own realm, but like Holocene and plants are your CBD seltzer waters, and like that, the Holocene that's cool branding too, because you're using vintage pictures again. Well,
we're harvesting floating icebergs out of Whittier and melting them, and that's what's in the product. They're at the new Alyeska Nordic Spa carries them. At one point, we had like a distribution of 150 locations in Alaska. Brown jugs, cars.
Dude, it's so cool. And then plant, which is more like your, like, I'm assuming
it was my competitor product I made to compete with my own product, because I was like, the Holocene was sort of this high end product that my real goal for Holocene was to get into like Willowa and the bars and make cocktails and make mixed drinks with them and stuff. And that's still a potential, but plant was sort of the lower end, more competitively priced product.
Yeah, you're not having to take boats out and harvest glacier.
Yeah,
ice.
it was like we work with Denali Brewing, and we co-manufacture at their location, and they just turn their water on and make it, and it's good water, but it's a much more. It was at the time when we started making, I haven't caught up on the industry stats, but it was the most competitively priced CBD seltzer in the country or the world for the amount of CBD in the product per can.
Holocene?
Plant.
Plant. Okay. I do remember.
Holocene's expensive, but
I do remember, and I don't know, because I never had CBD, but I when I went to your shop and then we drove up to Fairbanks like the next day, and I bought a bunch of honey sticks from you, CBD honey sticks, and then I bought a bunch of Holocene. I ate all the honey sticks in the car, and then I drank like 2 or 3 Holocenes, and I just remember being like super stoked. Like
You just
I don't
killed all the inflammation in your body.
I don't
Immediately.
I have no idea, because like they say like CBD, like, oh, you have to have it in your system for 7 days or whatever.
Take this
But,
cancer.
Like, I don't know if it was like placebo or what, but I was just like, dude, I am enjoying this road
your
trip.
wife's like, oh, he's so nice tonight.
yeah.
The definition of chill. Yeah.
Well, cool. So, where can people find you? Like, where are you posting these vintage pictures? Like, where would you want to point people?
Yeah, at the High Expedition, THEHIGH, then Expedition is our handle for the High X. And our website's, unapologetically kind of down right now. It's just sort of like the post-COVID blues. Like I was like, our website at one point was pretty cool and we had all our merch on there, but I'm like, it's got to be perfect or it's not online. And that's how I work. So it's
the bane of our existence.
Yeah, so it's offline temporarily, but it'll be back this summer. We're going to get a whole new round of merch and update the website. We got a lot of people that request stuff from out of state. But yeah, at the High Expedition, thehighexpedition.com. And my personal Instagram's at Joe McAneney. I mainly just post flying photos. So if that bores you, don't even check it out.
Don't even bother.
But yeah, flying, and what's next in flying, I'm pursuing a professional flying career now. And it's kind of an interesting thing where, I guess I never identified as a stoner, but you start a cannabis business and people just assume you smoke a bunch of weed, and and I did, at one point, but now that I'm a pilot and I fly every day, I've had, I made the choice that just doesn't mesh, and so a long time ago I kind of stepped away from that, and now flying is what I do, and I'm looking at working for K2 this summer in Talkeetna and doing professional flight seeing tours. And so I'm excited about that. And I've really applied myself and focused to flying. So it's sort of that's my new thing.
So when you get new products coming in, who's trying them out?
Not me.
Yeah, like do you have managers
R&D.
and stuff like that?
Yeah, my manager, my employees, locals that we know and trust.
You should get Kyle involved, dude.
Yeah.
This guy, talk
Kyle,
about blazing up, dude. This guy blazes.
I get chill.
Yeah,
I get very
he gets real high.
Yeah. We could use some product testers. So come up to Talkeetna, come up with Steven for a weekend.
Bringing the kids. I'll be there.
Yeah. Bring some mushrooms and you guys can try again.
There we go.
Oh man,
microdosing.
Yeah,
I do. I actually, it's funny because people have listened to that last episode, or this was a while ago though.
Yeah.
We talked about microdosing. Someone's like, "Oh, hey, you should buy these, microdosing pills that have mushrooms in it." So I've been trying to buy them, but they're only in Canada. So I'm like, fucking, I'm going for a road trip, dude. Like, I want to do this.
Hope to make it past the border, but
good luck.
Well, it will be fine.
We'll figure out a way. We need to go to Talkeetna and just have on our calendar a blackout week.
Yeah.
And it's just one week where we just try everything.
Yeah.
Everything we can.
If you just come to Talkeetna and just ask around, you don't need to go to Canada.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was going to say,
cool.
Who's your shroom guy?
I don't know, but
You're just guessing.
Chuck, Mike,
where
is he?
Yeah.
Where are they?
They're lingering around.
Well, cool, man. Well, hey, we've taken up a lot of your time. Thank you for making the trek over here to our big city. But no, we're stoked. We're stoked about what you're doing. We're stoked about like that whole thing, but also where you're going and what's happening next. I just think it's really cool, and that's why we asked you to be on, because I think that story you just shared about yourself, but also how it intertwines with Ray's and so many different, characters. I think that's so cool. So thank you for coming on. Thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for putting beautiful branding into the world of Alaska. So I thank you for that. And thanks for coming on.
Yeah, well, thanks you guys. The podcast seems like it's kind of coming together, and I've enjoyed kind of listening to it lately. And so I wish you guys the best of luck too. And
thanks, man.
Maybe we'll do a recap here in a couple of years or whenever, and see where we're at.
Yeah, I'd love that.
Yeah, you stay safe flying out there all the time. We'll be thinking of you. Thinking good thoughts.
I was thinking we could do a podcast episode from the plane.
The air. Oh,
because we can actually we can actually. I tested it with Dreamer actually because he thought of it. It was like we can actually mic stuff up and have it be pretty clear. So we could actually put GoPros in there and like film a podcast.
So how do you think you did this?
Yes. It would be. So it'd be quite the idea.
The follow up. Go Fix Yourself episode we'll go fly in the Alaska range.
That'd be fucking sick.
We'll figure some shit out.
And then we'll go back and we'll do mushrooms.
And then that will be the beginning of Blackout Week.
We'll kick it off.
Yeah, that kicks it off.
We're coming live
from a week we won't remember.
And then we're gonna podcast every day after that, and just listen to them the next week and be like, "Oh, this was shitty."
There was 12 seconds of gold in there.
Yeah. That's our clip for the week.
Yeah. We're in the Fairview. It's like,
yeah. Oh, dude, the Fairview. Anyway, well, thank you for coming on, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Thanks for tuning in. Kyle and Steven will be back with a new episode next week. In the meantime, check out gofixyourselfpodcast.com. And remember to always go fix yourself.